The infant's screams pierced through first class like shattered glass. Relentless, desperate. Sarah Mitchell heard it 3 rows back and felt her body respond. Milk letting down, breasts aching with sympathetic pressure threatening to soak through the nursing pads she still wore despite everything. Despite the fact that there was no baby to feed anymore. 6 months. 6 months since she'd held Emma. 6 months since the tiny heart had simply stopped in the night. No warning, no explanation, just gone. Sudden infant death syndrome. Like putting a name to it made it hurt less. Sarah closed her eyes. Forced down the wave of grief that always came with that physical response. Her body hadn't gotten the memo. Still producing. Still preparing to feed a child who'd never wake up hungry again. The crying intensified. She knew that sound. The desperate, hungry wail of an infant who needed something primal. Something only a mother could provide. Her hands trembled against the armrests. "Miss, are you all right?" The flight attendant paused beside her, concerned face. Professional smile starting to crack. Sarah looked up, then back toward where the crying originated. "That baby," she started, stopped. "He sounds I'm a nurse. Maybe I can help." The attendant's expression shifted, relief mixed with skepticism. "The passenger has been quite firm about not wanting assistance, but if you'd like to try, I suppose it couldn't hurt." Sarah unbuckled before she could second-guess herself, following the attendant down the aisle. Each step making her heart pound harder. This was insane. She was still lactating, her body producing milk that had nowhere to go. But she couldn't just offer to breastfeed a stranger's child, could she? Then she saw him. The man holding the baby sat like a king, even in distress. Black hair swept back from a face carved from marble by an angry god. Sharp cheekbones, strong jaw darkened by precisely maintained stubble. Eyes so dark they seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. He wore power like a second skin. Danger rolled off him in waves that made her survival instincts scream to turn around. But the baby in his arms looked so small, so helpless against that broad chest. The infant's face was red from crying, tiny features scrunched in misery. "Sir," the flight attendant began nervously. "This passenger is a nurse." She wondered if she might. The man's gaze snapped to Sarah. Impact like a physical blow. Those eyes could strip flesh from bone, could make grown men confess sins they hadn't committed. Sarah forgot how to breathe. "A nurse," he repeated, voice low and rough, gravel wrapped in velvet, Italian accent lingering at the edges. "Pediatric?" "Pediatric," Sarah heard herself say, voice far away. "I know that cry. He's hungry. I've tried the bottle." Frustration cracked through his controlled exterior. "He won't take it." Sarah's eyes moved from the man to the baby. Something in her chest cracked open. The infant's cries had taken on a desperate edge, the kind that spoke of real distress. She'd heard it too many times in the NICU. Her body responded before her brain caught up. "Some babies won't take artificial nipples," she said softly, stepping closer despite every instinct telling her to run, especially if they were breastfed initially. Was his mother? Something shifted in the man's expression, raw pain flashing across those features. "She died," he said flatly, 8 weeks ago, giving birth to him." The cabin seemed to go silent. Marco still cried, but everything else fell away. Sarah's eyes burned with unshed tears, her grief recognizing his. "Then he's probably refusing the bottle because he's looking for something familiar," she said, voice barely above a whisper. "Something he associates with comfort and safety." Their eyes locked. Sarah saw the exact moment he understood what she was implying. His jaw tightened. For a second she thought he might order her away. Then the baby let out another desperate wail. Something in the untouchable man crumbled. "Are you offering what I think you're offering?" Dangerous. Testing. Like he couldn't quite believe what he was hearing. Sarah swallowed hard. Insane, eh? This was beyond insane, but the baby was suffering, and her body was producing milk that had nowhere to go. Maybe she could help this tiny life even though she'd failed to save her own. "I'm still producing," she admitted, cheeks flushing. "I lost my daughter 6 months ago. My body hasn't. I haven't been able to stop it. If you'd allow me, I could try." Silence, deafening. Every passenger in first class had gone quiet, sensing they were witnessing something profound even if they couldn't understand what. The man stared at her. This stranger who'd just offered the most intimate gift one human could give another. "The restroom," he said abruptly, standing with fluid grace despite the child in his arms. "It's more private." Sarah's heart hammered as she followed him toward the first-class lavatory, acutely aware of the bodyguard who fell into step behind them. This was real. This was actually happening. The bathroom was small but luxurious as an airplane bathroom could be. The man stood in the doorway, large frame taking up most of the space. hesitation written across features that probably hadn't shown uncertainty in years. "I'll wait outside," he said finally, voice rough. "Unless you need, I'll be fine," Sarah assured him, hands shaking as she reached for the baby. "What's his name?" "Motoko." The word came out like a prayer and a curse. "After my grandfather." Sarah took the infant carefully, cradling his small body against her chest. Marco's cries had diminished to hiccuping whimpers. Like he sensed something was about to change. She looked up at the man, at this dangerous, powerful presence who'd just entrusted her with his most precious possession. Saw vulnerability that took her breath away. "I'll take care of him," she promised. He nodded once, sharp and controlled, then stepped back to let her close the door. The moment it clicked shut, Sarah felt the weight of what she was about to do settle over her. Her hands moved on autopilot, unbuttoning her blouse with the efficiency of someone who'd done this 1,000 times before. The nursing bra came next. Then she was positioning Marco at her breast, supporting his tiny head the way she'd supported so many infants in the NICU. For a moment, nothing happened. Marco whimpered, turning his face against her skin, searching. Then his instincts kicked in. He latched on. Sarah felt the familiar pull and release as he began to nurse. Tears streamed down her face silently as she looked down at the baby in her arms. He wasn't Emma. He would never be Emma. But he was a child who needed comfort, who needed nourishment, who needed the one thing her body was still desperate to provide. "It's okay, little one," she whispered, stroking his dark hair. "It's okay." Outside the door, the man stood with fists clenched at his sides, his bodyguard wisely maintaining distance. The silence that had replaced his son's cries was both relief and torment. He'd just handed Marco to a complete stranger, he who trusted no one, who verified the background of every person who came within 10 feet of his child, had just given his son to a woman whose last name he didn't even know. But something about her had reached through the armor he'd built. Maybe it was the grief in her eyes that matched his own. Maybe it was the desperate courage it took to offer such an intimate kindness to a stranger. Or maybe it was simply that for the first time in 8 weeks, someone had offered to help without wanting something in return. When the bathroom door opened 15 minutes later, she emerged with Marco sleeping peacefully in her arms. The infant's face was relaxed, tiny fist curled against her chest, completely at peace. The man looked at his son truly peaceful for the first time since Isabella's death and felt something shift in his chest. Something dangerous. Something that in his world could get people killed. "He's asleep," she said unnecessarily, voice soft to avoid waking the baby. "He ate well. He'll probably sleep for a few hours now." She moved to hand Marco back, but his hand shot out to stop her, fingers wrapping around her wrist with surprising gentleness. "Your name," he demanded, though his tone had lost its edge. "Sarah. Sarah Mitchell. Dominic Santoro." He released her wrist, taking Marco from her arms with practiced care. His son barely stirred, too content to wake. "I owe you a debt, Sarah Mitchell." "You don't owe me anything." Sarah began buttoning her blouse, suddenly aware of how intimate this situation was. "I was happy to help. In my world, everything comes with a price." Dominic's eyes fixed on her with an intensity that made her breath catch. "And what you just did feeding my son, giving him peace when nothing else could, that's not something I can simply walk away from." Something in his tone made Sarah's heart race. It sounded almost like a warning. "I should get back to my seat." "Wait." Command, not request. Dominic shifted Marco to one arm with the ease of someone who'd been doing this alone for weeks, then pulled a business card from his suit pocket. "Call me when we land. I want to properly thank you." Sarah took the card reflexively, fingers brushing his. The contact sent electricity up her arm. From the slight widening of his eyes, he'd felt it too. "That's not necessary." "It is to me." His voice had gone soft. "Dangerous. You gave my son something precious. The least I can do is buy you dinner." Sarah knew she should say no. Everything about this man screamed danger, from the way other passengers averted their eyes when he passed to the bodyguards who shadowed his movements. But there was something in his expression when he looked at his son, vulnerability that called to her own broken heart. "Dinner," she found herself agreeing. "Just dinner." A ghost of a smile touched Dominic's lips, transforming his face from dangerous to devastatingly handsome. "Just dinner," he echoed, though something in his tone suggested he was making a promise neither of them understood yet. The black SUV that picked up Sarah from the airport 2 days later was not what she'd expected. She'd imagined a normal restaurant, maybe something upscale given Dominic's obvious wealth. Instead, the driver, a mountain of a man with cold eyes and an earpiece, had escorted her into a vehicle that screamed federal protection, or something darker. The windows were tinted so dark she couldn't see out. The locks engaged with an ominous click the moment her door closed. "Where are we going?" Sarah tried to keep her voice steady as the SUV pulled into traffic. "The Don's estate, miss." The driver's eyes met hers in the rearview mirror. "He thought you'd be more comfortable with a private dinner." Given the baby. The Don, not Dominic, not Mr. Santoro. The Don. Sarah's stomach twisted as pieces began clicking into place. The bodyguards on the plane. The way passengers had given him wide berth. The ease with which he commanded others. The casual use of a title she knew from crime dramas and news reports about organized crime. Oh God, what had she gotten herself into? The SUV wound through Newark before heading into the suburbs, each mile taking them farther from public spaces, closer to sprawling estates hidden behind stone walls and iron gates. When they finally turned through a particular gate, this one guarded by two men with very obvious weapons, Sarah felt her heart climb into her throat. The estate was massive, sprawling mansion that looked like something out of The Godfather. Manicured lawns stretched in every direction. Sarah counted at least 4 other security personnel patrolling the grounds before the SUV pulled up to the main entrance. Miss Mitchell, a woman in her 60s, appeared at the door, severe expression softening slightly as she looked Sarah over. "I'm Teresa, the house manager. Mr. Santoro is waiting in the nursery. If you'll follow me." Right, because this was about Marco. Sarah clung to that thought as Teresa led her through a home that belonged in Architectural Digest. Marble floors, priceless artwork, furniture that cost more than Sarah's yearly salary. Everything screamed wealth and power and danger. They climbed a grand staircase to the 2nd floor. Sarah heard it before she saw it. Marco's cries, not as desperate as on the plane, but still distressed. Teresa opened a door to reveal a nursery that was both opulent and surprisingly warm. Decorated in soft blues and silvers, mural of clouds covering one wall. Dominic stood by the window, Marco wailing in his arms, expression tight with frustration. He'd shed the suit jacket and rolled up his sleeves, revealing forearms corded with muscle, and Sarah's breath caught extensive tattoos that disappeared beneath the fabric. Not regular tattoos, deliberata, symbolic. She recognized a few of the images. A crown, what looked like family crests, the kind of ink that told stories in the criminal underworld. "Sarah." His voice was rough with relief as he turned. "Thank God. He's been asking for you." "Asking for me?" Sarah's voice came out higher than intended. "Dominic, what is this? Who are you really?" Something flickered in his dark eyes. Respect, maybe, that she was asking directly. He gestured to Teresa, who slipped out silently, closing the door behind her. Suddenly, Sarah was alone with the most dangerous-looking man she'd ever met and his crying infant. "I think you already know," Dominic said quietly. "Stu rocking Marco, you're smart. You put the pieces together. You're with the Mafia." It wasn't a question. "I am the Mafia." His jaw clenched. "At least I'm the head of the Santoro family. We control most of the operations from here to Boston. Shipping, construction, waste management. Some legitimate, some," he paused, "less legitimate." Sarah backed toward the door, her hand fumbling for the handle. "I need to leave. Marco needs you." Dominic's voice stopped her. Not because it was commanding, but because it was broken. "Look at him, Sarah. Really look." Against her better judgment, Sarah did. The baby in Dominic's arms was thinner than he'd been on the plane. His cries had a weak quality that made her nurse's instincts scream alarm. Dark circles shadowed his tiny eyes. His skin had lost the healthy flush infants should have. What happened? She was moving forward before she could stop herself. "He looked fine 2 days ago. He won't eat." Dominic's jaw clenched. "Not the bottle. Not anything. He took 1 bottle the night we landed. Since then he's refused everything. The pediatrician wants to hospitalize him, put in a feeding tube. But his voice cracked. "I can't do that to him. He's already lost his mother. If I could give him what he needs, I would. But you can't," Sarah finished, understanding flooding through her. She reached for Marco. The moment the baby was in her arms, his cries diminished to whimpers. He turned his face against her chest, rooting instinctively. "Oh, sweetheart, you're so hungry, aren't you?" "I know this isn't fair to you," Dominic said, running a hand through his hair, the gesture making him look younger, more vulnerable. "I know I have no right to ask, but when I saw how he responded to you on the plane, how peaceful he was, Sarah, I haven't seen my son peaceful since the day he was born. Not us." Sarah looked from the baby in her arms to the man before her, this terrifying, powerful, dangerous man who was also a desperate father trying to save his child. She thought of Emma, how she would have moved heaven and earth to keep her daughter alive, how she'd have begged, borrowed, or stolen anything that could have prevented that terrible morning. "This is insane," she whispered. "I know you're a criminal. Yes, I should run out that door and never look back. Probably, but he needs to eat." Sarah looked down at Marco, whose whimpers had turned to hiccuping sobs as he continued to search for sustenance. "And I can help him. I'll pay you," Dominic spoke quickly, urgently. "Whatever you want, a salary, a house, anything. Just help him, please." The please did it. This man who clearly wasn't used to asking for anything, who probably ruled his world with absolute authority, was begging her to save his son. "Can you give us privacy?" Sarah asked quietly. Dominic nodded, moved toward the door, but Sarah's voice stopped him. "Wait, I need to know something first." She met his eyes directly, refusing to look away despite how intimidating he was. "On the plane you said I'd stepped into your world, that what I did created some kind of debt. What did you mean?" A muscle in Dominic's jaw ticked. For a long moment he didn't answer. Sarah thought he might not. Then he sighed, sound heavy with the weight of tradition. "My grandfather was born in Sicily," he began, accent thickening slightly. "He brought the old ways with him when he came to America. Built this family on those traditions. One of those traditions is about children, specifically about who feeds them. I don't understand. In the old family's, blood isn't the only thing that makes family. Milk does too." Dominic's eyes were intense, burning with something Sarah couldn't name. "When a woman nurses a child that isn't biologically hers, especially the child of a Don, she becomes bound to that family, becomes sacred to them. In the oldest tradition, she becomes what?" Sarah's heart was pounding. "The child's mother," Dominic finished. "And in our world, a Don's child can have only one mother, his wife." The silence that followed was deafening. Sarah stared at him, trying to process what he'd just said, trying to understand if he was saying what she thought he was saying. "You can't be serious." "I don't expect you to marry me," Dominic said quickly. This isn't medieval Sicily, but in my world what you did on that plane, it means something. It means you're under my family's protection now, whether you want it or not. It means other families will see you as connected to us. And it means," he stopped, seeming to struggle with the words, "it means I can't let you walk away." "Can't let me?" Sarah's voice rose. "You don't own me. I'm not some possession you can claim because of an old superstition. It's not a superstition to the people I deal with." Dominic's voice hardened. "The moment word gets out that you nursed my son, and it will get out, Sarah. Things like this don't stay secret in my world. You'll become a target. Rival families will see you as a way to get to me. You'll need protection, my protection." "Then I won't do it again." Sarah held Marco closer, even as the baby's whimpers intensified. "I'll help him today. Make sure he's eating properly. Then I'll leave. No one needs to know. Teresa already knows. My driver knows. My security team knows." Dominic stepped closer. Sarah fought the urge to back away. "And in about 3 hours, when my underboss comes for his weekly report, he'll know. By tomorrow, every family from here to Chicago will know that Dominic Santoro's son has a wet nurse. That's how fast information travels in this world. Then tell them I'm just an employee, a hired nurse. It doesn't work like that." Frustration colored his tone. "The symbolism matters. The act itself matters. You gave my son something precious, something intimate. In the eyes of the old families, that makes you precious. It makes you mine to protect. I'm not yours." But even as Sarah said it, Marco let out a desperate cry. She felt her body respond, milk letting down despite her emotional state. The baby sensed it too, rooting more frantically against her shirt. Dominic saw her wince, saw the understanding in her eyes that her body was betraying her resolve. "He needs you," he said softly. "And like it or not, you need me now too. Because I promise you, Sarah Mitchell, the moment other families find out about this, your life will never be the same." Sarah looked down at the suffering infant in her arms, then back up at the dangerous man before her. Every rational part of her brain screamed to run, get as far from this world as possible. But she was a nurse. She'd taken an oath to help those in need. And this baby, this innocent child who'd lost his mother the day he was born, needed her desperately. 1 week, she heard herself say. "I'll stay 1 week. Help get him established on a bottle. Work with a lactation consultant to find a solution. But then I'm gone. And you tell everyone I was just a temporary medical solution. No weird mafia marriage traditions. No sacred bonds. Just a professional arrangement." Dominic's expression was unreadable. 1 week. And I want it in writing. A contract that says I'm free to leave after 7 days, with no retaliation, no following me, no claiming me as some kind of property. Done. He pulled out his phone. "I'll have my lawyer draw it up within the hour." Sarah nodded, not trusting herself to speak. She turned away from him, settling into the plush rocking chair position near the window. Privacy, she repeated. This time Dominic left without argument, pulling the door closed behind him. Sarah heard him post someone outside. Of course he did. He probably had guards everywhere. But for now, she was alone with Marco. "Okay, little one," she whispered, unbuttoning her shirt with shaking hands. "Let's get you fed." Marco latched on immediately, his desperate suckling gradually easing into the rhythmic pull of a satisfied infant. Sarah closed her eyes, tears streaming down her face as she rocked him. This was wrong on so many levels. She was feeding a crime lord's baby, sitting in a mansion bought with blood money, trapped by traditions older than America itself. But God, it felt right to have a baby in her arms again, to feel needed, to feel like maybe she could save this one, even though she'd failed to save Emma. Outside the door, Dominic leaned against the wall, listening to the silence that meant his son was finally eating, finally at peace. He pulled out his phone and made a call. "Luca, I need you here now. And bring the lawyer." Pause, listening to his underboss's response. "Because we have a situation. The baby has a wet nurse." He could practically hear Luca's shock through the phone. In their world, everyone would know exactly what that meant. "Yeah," Dominic continued, voice good him. "I know what the traditions say. That's why we need the lawyer. I need to figure out how to protect her without—" He stopped, not wanting to voice what the old ways would demand, what his grandfather would have insisted upon without question. When a woman nurses a Don's child, she becomes the Don's wife, not through ceremony or paperwork, but through an act older and more binding than any legal contract, through the sacred act of sustaining the family's heir. Dominic had told Sarah he didn't expect her to marry him, and he'd meant it. He didn't believe in forcing women into anything. Traditions be damned. But he also knew that in the eyes of every old-school family from New York to Sicily, the moment Sarah Mitchell had put Marco to her breast, she'd become the Santoro family's queen, whether she wanted the crown or not. And that meant Dominic had to protect her, had to claim her publicly as under his protection before rival families decided to make their own moves. Had to make it clear that touching Sarah Mitchell was tantamount to declaring war on the Santoro family. He just had to figure out how to do that without making her hate him in the process. Inside the nursery, Sarah held Marco as he nursed, completely unaware that she'd just become the most valuable and most dangerous woman in the American underworld. Unaware that Dominic Santoro's rivals were already making plans, seeing opportunity in this unexpected development. Unaware that the man outside that door was already falling for her, drawn to her courage and compassion in ways that terrified him. Because in his world, love was a weakness. Love got people killed, but his son needed her. And increasingly, Dominic was realizing he needed her too. 1 week, she'd said. 7 days to get Marco eating properly. Then she'd walk away. Dominic stared at the closed nursery door and made a decision that would change everything. He'd give her the week, let her think she could leave, let her feel safe enough to lower her guard. And in that time, he'd show her that despite the darkness of his world, despite the blood on his hands, he could be what she and Marco needed. Because 1 week wasn't going to be enough, not nearly enough, for any of them. 4 days into Sarah's 1 week, the mansion had become a strange kind of home. She'd been given a bedroom suite adjacent to the nursery. For convenience, Teresa had explained. Though Sarah suspected it was more about keeping her close, keeping her secure. The rooms were beautiful, decorated in soft creams and golds, bathroom with a tub large enough to swim in. Everything screamed luxury and comfort in captivity. Sarah spent most of her time in the nursery with Marco, feeding him every 3 hours, learning his rhythms, watching him slowly regain the healthy flush that babies should have. Dominic was there for almost every feeding, sitting in the corner chair like a silent guardian, watching his son nurse with an expression that twisted Sarah's heart. He never pressured her, never crossed lines, but his presence was constant and increasingly magnetic. Day 2. Morning feeding. Sarah settled into the rocking chair, Marco already rooting against her chest before she'd even unbuttoned her shirt. "He's gaining weight," she said, not looking at Dominic. Couldn't look at him while she did this. Too intimate. Another few days and he'll be strong enough to try transitioning to expressed milk and bottles. Good. But Dominic's tone didn't sound pleased. He looked tense, wound tight, jaw locked in that way she was starting to recognize meant he was holding something back. "What's wrong? We need to talk." He stood, moving to close the nursery door more firmly. "About the situation." Sarah's stomach dropped. "What situation?" Word got out. He ran a hand through his hair, messing the perfectly styled black strands. "About you. About what you're doing for Marco." "How?" Teresa mentioned it to her sister, who told her husband, who works for the Moretti family. Dominic's expression was grim. 3 families have already reached out, making inquiries. Inquiries about what? Polite ways of asking if I've claimed you formally. His eyes met hers, dark and intense. If you're under my protection as just an employee, or as something more. And what did you tell them? That you're mine. The words came out rough, possessive. That anyone who touches you answers to me. Sarah should have been angry, should have railed against being called his. But something about the fierce protectiveness in his voice made her feel safe instead of trapped. So I'm a prisoner here. You're protected here. Dominic moved closer. Sarah's pulse quickened. There's a difference. You can leave. I signed the contract, remember? But if you leave, I can't guarantee your safety. Marco had finished nursing, already drifting to sleep in her arms. Sarah adjusted her shirt, one-handed, practiced. Why would they want to hurt me? Because you're valuable. He stopped just short of touching her, close enough that she could see the flecks of gold in his dark eyes. In the old ways, the woman who nurses a Don's child holds almost as much power as the Don himself. She's sacred, protected, and he hesitated. And what? And if something happened to me, you and Marco would be the logical successors to control the family. The words fell like stones between them. That makes you dangerous to my rivals and valuable to my allies. Sarah's arms tightened around the sleeping baby. This is insane. This is my world. Dominic's voice softened. I'm sorry you got pulled into it, but Sarah, he paused, seeming to wrestle with something. I'm not sorry you're here. The confession hung in the air between them. Charged, dangerous. Sarah's breath caught as she watched emotions flicker across his usually controlled face. Vulnerability. Want. Something that looked dangerously like affection. Dominic, let me finish. He cut her off gently. These past 4 days, watching you with my son, seeing him peaceful and healthy because of you, Sarah, you gave us both something I thought was lost forever. A chance at normal, at family. I'm not your family. I'm just helping. You are family. He reached out slowly, telegraphing his movement so she could pull away if she wanted. When she didn't, his hand cupped her cheek with surprising gentleness. The moment you fed Marco, you became family. Maybe not in the legal sense. Maybe not in the way the modern world understands, but in the ways that matter to me, to my son. You're already ours. Sarah knew she should pull away, should remind him about their agreement, about the 3 days she had left before leaving. Should definitely not be leaning into his touch like a flower toward sunlight. This can't happen, she whispered, but her body betrayed her words, swaying closer to him. Why not? His thumb stroked her cheekbone. Sarah felt the calluses there, evidence that this man wasn't just a suit-wearing executive, someone who knew how to use his hands, how to fight, how to survive. Because you're dangerous, because your world is violent and dark, and I've already lost. Her voice broke. I can't lose anyone else. I can't watch someone else die. Understanding flooded Dominic's expression. Emma, Sarah flinched. How do you know about? I had you investigated. He said it without apology. The moment you offered to feed Marco on that plane, I had my people pull everything about you. I know about your daughter, about the SIDS diagnosis, about the fact that you haven't worked since it happened, that you've been in grief counseling, that you're rebuilding a life that feels impossible to rebuild. Sarah should have been furious about the invasion of privacy, should have slapped him and stormed out. But instead she felt oddly relieved that he knew, that she didn't have to explain the gaping wound in her heart. Then you understand why this can't be more than a temporary arrangement, she said softly. Why I can't get attached to Marco, or to, she stopped, unable to finish, or to me. Dominic's jaw clenched. Sarah, I know loss. I watched Isabella die bringing our son into the world. Watched her bleed out while doctors tried everything to save her. I held her hand as the light left her eyes. Knowing I was losing my wife and my son was losing his mother before he'd even taken his first breath. Tears streamed down Sarah's face. I'm so sorry. Don't be sorry. Just don't write us off because you're scared. He leaned closer, forehead nearly touching hers. These past few days I've watched you be so brave. Brave enough to feed a stranger's child. Brave enough to walk into a world you didn't understand. Brave enough to love my son even knowing you'd have to leave him. Don't tell me you're too scared to try. Try what? Sarah's voice was barely a whisper. This, and then he was kissing her, gentle at first. Soft press of lips that asked permission rather than demanded surrender. Sarah froze for half a heartbeat, Marco still sleeping in her arms. Every rational thought screaming that this was wrong. But then Dominic's hand slid into her hair. She melted into the kiss like she was coming home. He tasted like whiskey and danger and something uniquely him that made her head spin. His other hand came up to cradle her face, holding her like she was precious, like she was sacred. The kiss deepened. Sarah felt 6 months of walls crumbling around her heart. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Dominic rested his forehead against hers. "Stay," he whispered. "Not for a week. Stay. I can't. You can." His voice was fierce now, desperate. "Marco needs you. I need you. And unless I'm completely misreading things, you need us too." Sarah looked down at the sleeping baby in her arms, then back up at the dangerous, beautiful man offering her a life she'd never imagined, a life that terrified her, a life that somehow felt more real than anything she'd experienced in months. "I'm scared," she admitted. "So am I." Dominic kissed her forehead, soft and reverent. "But I'm more scared of letting you walk away." Before Sarah could respond, Marco stirred, letting out a small whimper. She automatically began rocking him, maternal instincts kicking in. Dominic watched them. The expression on his face stole Sarah's breath, possessive and protective and full of so much longing it hurt. "Let me put him down," she said softly. Together they moved to the crib. Massive thing of carved wood and soft linens that probably cost more than Sarah's car. She laid Marco down gently. Dominic immediately adjusted the blanket, checked the baby monitor, performed all the little rituals of a father who'd been doing this alone for 2 months. When he straightened, Sarah was right there. Suddenly the air between them was charged again. The nursery lights were dimmed, Marco's soft breathing the only sound. They were alone in this bubble of domesticity. Sarah felt the last of her resistance crumbling. "I should go to my room," she said. "Didn't move." "You should," Dominic agreed. "Also didn't move. We need boundaries." "We do. This is happening too fast." "It is." But when his hand found the small of her back pulling her closer, Sarah didn't resist. When he kissed her again, deeper this time, with the hunger of a man who'd been holding back for days, she kissed him back with equal fervor. They stumbled away from the crib, mindful of the sleeping baby, until Sarah's back hit the wall. Dominic was pressing against her, all hard muscle and controlled power. "Tell me to stop," he murmured against her lips. "I should, but will you?" Sarah looked up into his eyes, those dark, dangerous eyes that somehow made her feel safer than she had in months, made a decision that would change everything. "No." The word was barely out before his mouth was on hers again. Sarah forgot all the reasons this was a terrible idea, forgot about his criminal empire, about the danger, about the fact that she'd known him less than a week. All she could feel was his warmth, his strength, the way he held her like she was something precious he'd been searching for his whole life. When they finally broke apart, both panting, Dominic rested his forehead against hers. "3 more days," he said. "Your contract gives you 3 more days before you're free to leave." "Yes. If you still want to leave after that, I won't stop you. I'll honor our agreement." His hands framed her face, forcing her to meet his eyes. "But Sarah, I'm going to spend those 3 days convincing you to stay. I'm going to show you that what we could have, what we could be, it's worth the risk. And if I still want to leave," pain flickered across his features, but he nodded, "then I'll let you go. I'll make sure you're protected. Set you up somewhere safe where the other families can't touch you, but I'll let you go." Sarah searched his face, looking for lies, for manipulation, for any sign that this was a trap, but all she saw was honesty, and a vulnerability that this powerful man probably showed to no one else. "Okay," she whispered. 3 days. Something fierce and possessive flashed in Dominic's eyes. 3 days, he repeated. Then he kissed her once more, soft and reverent, before forcing himself to step back. "Get some rest. Marco will be hungry in a few hours." Sarah nodded, legs shaky as she walked the short distance to her room, her lips still tingling from his kisses. She locked her bedroom door and leaned against it, one hand pressed to her racing heart. 3 days. In 3 days she'd either be walking away from the first man who'd made her feel alive since losing Emma, or she'd be stepping fully into a world that terrified her. She didn't know which option scared her more. Day 3. Kitchen, 2 a.m. Sarah couldn't sleep. She'd fed Marco at midnight, put him down without incident, but her mind wouldn't stop racing. So she'd wandered downstairs, found the massive kitchen, started making tea. "Can't sleep?" Teresa's voice made her jump. The older woman stood in the doorway, robe wrapped around her, hair in a simple braid. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to wake you." "You didn't. I'm always up around now. Old habits." Teresa moved to the stove, taking over the tea-making process. "Worked in this house for 40 years. Body doesn't forget the rhythms." Sarah sat at the kitchen island, watched Teresa work with the efficiency of someone who knew this space intimately. "You love him," Teresa said quietly, not a question. "I barely know him. That doesn't answer my question. Sarah was quiet for a long moment. Teresa set a cup of tea in front of her, then settled onto the stool across from her, waiting. How can I love someone whose world is so violent? Sarah finally asked. Someone who probably has blood on his hands? My husband worked for the Don's father, Teresa said. 30 years in this life. It took him in the end. A rival's bullet meant for the old Don. But those 30 years, they were full of love, loyalty, family. Yes, there was darkness. There's always darkness in this world. But there was light too. Does the light make up for the darkness? That's for you to decide, Miss Mitchell. Teresa stood, moving toward the small kitchen. But I'll tell you this. I've worked for the Santoro family for 40 years. I've seen 3 Dons. And I've never seen one look at a woman the way Dominic looks at you, like you're his salvation. Sarah was still processing those words when the lights flickered. Once, twice. Then the backup generator kicked in, bathing everything in emergency lighting. What does that mean? Sarah's voice rose with panic. Teresa's face had gone pale. It means someone cut the main power. It means they're here. The sound of gunfire erupted from somewhere in the mansion, muffled but unmistakable. Sarah ran toward the nursery, toward Marka, Teresa right behind her. The older woman's hand suddenly holding a gun Sarah hadn't seen her pull. Stay behind me, Teresa commanded. All grandmotherly warmth replaced by cold efficiency. They reached the 2nd floor. The nursery door was still closed, still secure. Sarah burst through it, scooped Marco from his crib. The baby woke with a startled cry, sensing the tension. More gunfire. Closer now, shouting. The sounds of combat filtering through the walls. Miss Mitchell, Teresa's voice was sharp. There's a panic room, behind the bookshelf in the master bedroom. Taki Marco, go now. What about you? I'll hold them off. Go. Sarah ran, Marco screaming in her arms, down the hall, into what had to be Dominic's bedroom, massive space dominated by a king bed. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the grounds. Where the fuck was the bookshelf? There. Far wall. Sarah fumbled for the latch, hands shaking. Marco's cries making it hard to think. The bookshelf swung open, revealing a reinforced door with a keypad. Shit. She didn't know the code. Then she saw it, written on a post-it note stuck to the frame. Marco's birthday, of course. Sarah punched in the numbers. The door clicked open. She stumbled inside, into a small room lined with supplies. Bottled water, non perissables, medical kit, a safe room. Sarah slammed the door, heard the locks engage automatically, then sagged against the wall. Marco clutched to her chest. The baby was hysterical now, screaming at full volume. Shh, baby, shh. It's okay, Mama's here. The words slipped out before she could stop it. Mama, she wasn't his mother. Wasn't anyone's mother anymore, but God, holding him, protecting him. It felt like the most natural thing in the world. Sarah sank to the floor, back against the reinforced door, pulled her shirt up, put Marco to her breast. He latched immediately, crying diminishing to whimpers as he nursed. The sounds of gunfire were distant now, muffled by the safe room's walls. Sarah had no idea what was happening out there, if Dominic was safe, if Teresa was alive, if this was some rival family making a move. All she could do was sit in the dark, feeding Marco, praying they'd survive the night. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. Time lost all meaning in the windowless room. Marco had fallen asleep at her breast, still latched, finding comfort in the familiar rhythm. Sarah didn't move him, didn't dare disturb the small peace he'd found. Then she heard it. Footsteps outside the door, heavy, purposeful, someone trying the handle. Sarah held her breath. Marco clutched tighter. If they got in, if whoever was out there breached the safe room, she'd fight like hell to protect this baby. Sarah, Dominic's voice, rough with exhaustion. Sarah, it's me. You can open the door. She didn't move. Couldn't be sure it was really him. Couldn't risk it. Sarah, please, I know you're scared, but it's over. They're gone. You're safe now. A pause. I'm sorry I couldn't get to you sooner. I'm sorry you had to go through this, but I'm here now. Let me in. Let me see you're okay. Something in his voice broke her. Sarah carefully extracted herself from Marco, laid the sleeping baby on the floor of the safe room on a blanket she'd found, then opened the door. Dominic stood there, suit torn. Blood on his shirt, she couldn't tell if it was his or someone else's. Bruise forming along his jaw, cut above his eyebrow, but alive. Oh, Sarah. Relief flooded his face. Thank Christ. Then she was in his arms. Dominic pulled her against him, one hand cradling the back of her head, the other wrapped around her waist. You're okay, he murmured into her hair. You're okay. I've got you. Sarah was shaking, couldn't stop shaking. What happened? Who were they? Is Teresa's fine? Took a graze to her arm, but she'll be okay. Dominic pulled back, hands framing her face. It was the Calabrese family, Isabella's family. They made a move to take Marco, claim custody through force. The Calabrese family? Sarah's mind was spinning. Your wife's family tried to kill you? Not kill, take. His jaw clenched. They want Marco. They believe they have more right to raise him than I do, than you do. That's insane. That's tradition. Dominic's thumb stroked her cheekbone. Isabella's mother, Donna Calabrese, she's old world Sicilian, believes in the ancient laws. And those laws say if a mother dies in childbirth, her family has the right to raise the child. But you're his father. I'm also the man who got her daughter killed. In Donna's eyes, in the Calabrese family's eyes, I'm responsible for Isabella's death. They don't trust me to raise Marco properly. They want him raised in their home, under their influence. Sarah thought of Marco sleeping peacefully in the safe room. This tiny, innocent baby who'd already lost his mother, who'd been fought over, shot at, who'd become a pawn in a war he didn't ask for. They'll come back, she said, not a question. Yes. What do we do? Dominic's expression shifted, something fierce and protective flooding his features. We fight. We prove to the Council of Families that Marco belongs with us, that you're his mother in every way that matters, that the Calabrese family has no claim. How do we prove that? The old way. He kissed her forehead. They'll want to see the bond, see that Marco thrives with you, that he needs you, that you're not just a wet nurse hired for convenience, but his true mother. I'm not his mother, Dominic. You are his mother. Dominic's voice was absolute. I saw you in there, protecting him, feeding him, comforting him. Sarah, you called yourself his mama. I heard you through the door. She had. God, she had. This is happening too fast. I know. I'm terrified. So am I. But if I don't fight for him, if I walk away now, they'll take him. Yes. Sarah looked up at this man. This dangerous, powerful man who'd turned her world upside down in less than a week. Who'd made her feel things she thought had died with Emma. Who'd given her a purpose, a reason to keep breathing. Then I'll fight, she said. I'll do whatever it takes to keep Marco safe. Something blazed in Dominic's eyes. He kissed her, hard and claiming. When he pulled back, both of them were breathing hard. 3 days, he said. What? Your contract expires in 3 days. After this, after what just happened, I can't hold you to it. You can leave now if you want. No one would blame you. Sarah thought about it, really thought about it. Walking away, going back to her quiet, safe, empty life, never seeing Marco again, never watching him grow, never knowing if he was okay, never seeing Dominic, never feeling his arms around her, never tasting his kiss. I'm staying, she said. Sarah, I'm staying. Not because of the contract, not because of tradition, because that baby in there needs me. And her voice broke. I need him too. I need both of you. Dominic crushed her against him. You're sure? I'm terrified, but I'm sure. Then we do this the right way. He pulled back, eyes locked on hers. Tomorrow, I call the Council of Families, request a formal hearing. We present our case. Show them that Marco belongs with us, that you're his mother, that the Calabrese family's claim is invalid. And if we lose, we won't lose. But Sarah heard the uncertainty beneath the confidence, heard the fear that maybe they would, that maybe tradition and blood would win over love. Go back to Marco, Dominic said softly. I need to secure the house. Make sure there are no other threats. But I'll be back before dawn. We'll feed him together. Then we start preparing for war. Sarah nodded, started to turn back to the safe room, then stopped, looked back at Dominic. I love him, she said. I know it's insane. I know I've only known him a few days. But I love Marco. Like he's mine. He is yours. Dominic's voice was rough with emotion. And Sarah, he paused. I'm falling for you too, in case that wasn't obvious. Then he was gone, disappearing down the hallway to deal with whatever aftermath remained from the attack. Sarah returned to the safe room, scooped up the still sleeping Marco, held him against her chest, breathing in his baby scent. It's okay, little one, she whispered. Mama's got you, and I'm not letting anyone take you away. Morning came with Teresa knocking softly on the safe room door. Sarah had finally moved back to her bedroom around 4 a.m., Marco sleeping in her arms, too afraid to put him down, too afraid to let him out of her sight. Miss Mitchell, Teresa's voice was gentle. The Don needs you downstairs. The lawyer is here. Right, the lawyer. The formal hearing with the Council of Families. Sarah's stomach twisted. She looked down at Marco, still asleep, peaceful, completely unaware that his entire future was about to be decided by a bunch of old men in suits. Give me 10 minutes. Sarah changed quickly. Jeans and a simple sweater, nothing fancy. She wasn't trying to impress anyone. Fit Marco. Changed him. Dressed him in the soft blue outfit Teresa had laid out, then headed downstairs with the baby in her arms. The sitting room was full. Dominic stood by the fireplace, clean suit. No visible evidence of last night's fight except for the cut above his eyebrow. Luca was there, the underboss she'd seen around the estate, earpiece in. Scar through his eyebrow making him look even more intimidating in daylight. And a man in an expensive suit, older, maybe 60, silver hair, sharp eyes that cataloged everything. Sarah. Dominic moved to her immediately, hand on her lower back, possessive, protective. This is Anthony Russo. He's been the Santoro family's lawyer for 30 years. Miss Mitchell. Russo's voice was smooth, professional. I've been briefed on the situation, what you've done for Marco, what the Calabrese family is attempting. I want to assure you we're going to fight this with everything we have. What exactly are we fighting? Sarah settled onto the couch. Marco starting to fuss. She unbuttoned her sweater, put him to breast without thinking. Only realized what she'd done when she saw all three men avert their eyes, giving her privacy even though they'd all seen worse. The Calabrese family is invoking Clause 47 of the Family Compact, Russo explained, looking at his notes rather than at her. It's an old law. Dates back to the founding families in Sicily. States that if a woman dies in childbirth, her family has the right to raise the child, to preserve the bloodline, to ensure the child is raised with proper values. That's archaic bullshit, Sarah said flatly. Russo's lips twitched, almost a smile. It is, but it's also legally binding within our world. The Council of Families recognizes these old laws, upholds them. The Calabrese family has every right to petition for custody under Clause 47. So what's our defense? Clause 52. Dominic's voice was hard. The sacred bond clause. It states that if another woman nurses a Don's child, takes on the role of mother in the absence of the biological mother, she becomes the child's legal mother in the eyes of the families. Her bond supersedes the blood family's claim. So because I fed Marco, you became his mother, Russo finished. At least that's what we're going to argue. The challenge is proving the bond is real, not just a convenient arrangement. The council will want evidence that Marco needs you, that he's thriving with you, that you've genuinely taken on the maternal role. How do we prove that? Witnesses. Medical records showing Marco's weight gain and health improvements since you started nursing him. Testimony from staff who've observed your interactions. Russo flipped through his notes. And ultimately, the council will want to see you together, see the bond for themselves. When is this hearing? 3 days. Dominic's jaw clenched. Donna Calabrese has already filed the petition. The council has agreed to convene. 3 days from now, we present our case. 3 days. Sarah looked down at Marco, nursing peacefully, tiny hand wrapped around her finger. What happens if we lose? Silence. Nobody wanted to answer that. Finally, Russo spoke. The Calabrese family would be granted custody. Marco would be removed from this home, taken to the Calabrese estate. You'd have no legal rights to see him, visit him. You'd be cut off completely, Sarah finished, voice hollow. Yes, and what about Dominic? He's Marco's father. The Calabrese family would allow supervised visitation, Russo said carefully. But Dominic would lose primary custody, would lose the right to make decisions about Marco's upbringing, education, healthcare, everything. Fuck that. Fuck all of that. Sarah looked at Dominic, saw the pain in his eyes, the fear that he was about to lose his son, the same way she'd lost Emma. Then we don't lose, she said. We fight. We win. Whatever it takes. Dominic's expression shifted, something fierce and grateful flooding his features. Whatever it takes, he echoed. Day one of preparation. Russo spent hours interviewing Sarah, taking notes, building their case. Tell me about the first time you nursed Marco. On the plane. What were you feeling? Sarah closed her eyes, remembered. Grief. My milk had let down when I heard him crying. It's a physical response. Painful when there's no baby to relieve the pressure. I'd been dealing with it for months, trying everything to make it stop, but my body wouldn't listen. So you offered out of physical discomfort? No, Sarah opened her eyes. I offered because he sounded desperate, hungry, and I knew that sound. I'd heard it in the NICU 1,000 times. Babies who need something their parents can't give them. I thought maybe I could help. Did you consider the implications, that this might bond you to the child? I didn't think about anything except helping a baby who was suffering. Russo nodded, made a note. And now? How do you feel about Marco now? Sarah looked across the room, to where Teresa was holding Marco, the baby awake and alert, looking around with those dark eyes that were getting sharper every day. I love him, she said simply. He's not Emma. He'll never be Emma, but he's mine, in every way that matters. I'd die to protect him. More notes. The Calabrese family will argue that you're using Marco to replace your dead daughter, that this bond isn't real, just grief and maternal instinct latching onto the nearest available child. How do you respond to that? They can go fuck themselves. Russo's pen paused, then he smiled. Actually smiled. We'll phrase it more diplomatically for the council. But yes, that's essentially what we'll argue. Day 2 of preparation. Teresa testified, Russo recording everything. I've worked in this house for 40 years. I've seen 3 generations of Santoro children. I know what a mother looks like, what a real bond looks like. And Miss Mitchell? She's Marco's mother, no question. I've watched her with him. The way she anticipates his needs before he cries. The way he calms instantly in her arms. The way she looks at him like he's her whole world. That's not something you can fake. The Calabrese family might argue she's a good actress. Teresa's eyes went hard. I watched Isabella with Marco for 2 days before she died. Beautiful girl, sweet, but she was terrified, didn't know what to do with him, struggled to connect. It wasn't her fault, she was sick, dying, but she didn't have what Sarah has. And what does Sarah have? The gift. Some women have it, some don't. Sarah was born to be a mother. You can see it in everything she does. Day 3 of preparation. The day before the hearing. Sarah was feeding Marco, evening feeding. Dominic in his usual chair watching. You don't have to do this, he said quietly. Sarah looked up. Do what? Fight for us. Risk yourself. The Calabrese family is powerful. Donna is ruthless. If we lose, if they decide against us, there will be consequences. For you. They might come after you. Hurt you to hurt me. Let them try. Sarah, no. She adjusted Marco. Made sure he was latched properly. I'm not walking away. I'm not abandoning him. I've already lost 1 child, Dominic. I'm not losing another. He's not yours to lose. Not legally. Fuck legally. Fire in her voice now. He's mine in every way that matters. I've fed him from my body. I've held him through the night. I've watched him grow stronger because of what I give him. That makes him mine. Dominic was quiet for a long moment. Then he stood, crossed to where she sat, knelt in front of her. Eye level. I don't deserve you, he said softly. Probably not. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. If we win tomorrow, if the council rules in our favor, what happens then? What do you mean? Between us. His hand came up, cupped her face. These past days, the way I feel about you. Sarah, it's not just about Marco. It's not just about needing someone to feed my son. It's you. Sarah's heart was pounding. Dominic, I love you. The words came out rough, like they'd been dragged from somewhere deep. I know it's insane. I know it's too fast, but I love you. And tomorrow, when we stand in front of that council, I want them to see more than just a wet nurse doing a job. I want them to see my family, you and Marco and me, together. You're asking me to marry you. Eventually, yes, he didn't look away. Not today, not tomorrow, but soon, when this is over, when we've won. I want you to be my wife, Marco's mother. In every legal, traditional, and emotional way possible. Sarah should say no, should tell him it was too soon, too complicated, too dangerous. But looking into his eyes, seeing the vulnerability there, the hope, the fear that she might reject him, she couldn't. Ask me again after we win, she said softly. If we survive tomorrow, if the council rules in our favor, ask me then. And you'll say yes. Maybe. Dominic smiled. Real smile. The kind that transformed his entire face. I'll take maybe. Then he kissed her, careful not to disturb Marco, who was still nursing peacefully between them. When he pulled back, both of them were breathing hard. Get some rest, he said. Tomorrow is going to be hell. The council convened at the Calabrese estate, neutral ground, or as neutral as it could be when the hearing was being held in the home of the family trying to take Marco. Sarah sat in the back of Dominic's SUV, Marco in her arms, Teresa beside her. Dominic and Luca in the front. 2 more SUVs followed, full of security. Remember what Russo said, Dominic spoke without turning around. Answer their questions honestly. Don't get defensive. Don't let Donna provoke you. Show them the bond. Show them you're Marco's mother. What if they don't believe me? They'll believe you. But Sarah heard the uncertainty beneath the confidence. The Calabrese estate made Dominic's mansion look modest, sprawling, ostentatious. Old money dripping from every surface, guards everywhere. At least a dozen men in suits with earpieces and weapons barely concealed. A woman waited at the entrance, older, steel gray hair pulled into an elegant bun, dressed in black from head to toe, expensive jewelry, severe expression. Donna Calabrese. Sarah recognized her from the photos Russo had shown her, preparing her for this moment. Isabella's mother, Marco's grandmother, the woman trying to take her son, Mr. Santoro. Donna's voice was cold. Formal. Thank you for coming. I didn't have a choice. No, you didn't. Donna's eyes moved to Sarah, to Marco in her arms. Something flickered in that gaze. Pain maybe, grief. And this must be the wet nurse, not a question, an insult. This is Sarah Mitchell, Dominic said, voice hard. Marco's mother. How presumptuous. Donna's lips curved in something that wasn't quite a smile. We'll let the council decide that. Won't we? She turned. Walked into the mansion without waiting for a response. Dominic's hand found Sarah's lower back, steadying her. Breathe, he murmured. You've got this. They followed Donna inside. Through hallways lined with portraits, family photos, generations of Calabreses staring down from the walls, and there, center of the main hallway, Isabella. Beautiful even in a photograph, long black hair, dark eyes, gentle smile, wearing white, looking young and happy and alive. Sarah's steps faltered. This was Isabella's home, her family, her legacy, and Sarah was here trying to take her place, trying to claim her son as her own. Don't, Dominic said quietly, reading her thoughts. Don't go there. This isn't about replacing Isabella. It's about saving Marco. Right, focus on Marco. They entered a large sitting room. 5 men waited, older, distinguished, power radiating from them like heat. The council of 5 families. Sarah recognized some from Russo's briefing. Don Calabrese, Don Moretti, Don Castellano, Don Romano, Don Vitale. The heads of the most powerful mafia families in the Northeast, here to decide her fate, Marco's fate. Gentlemen, Dominic's voice was formal, respectful. Thank you for convening on such short notice. Dominic. The man in the center, Don Vitale, the eldest, gestured to the seats across from them. Please, sit. We have much to discuss. Sarah sat, Marco still in her arms. The baby was awake now, looking around with curious eyes, completely unaware of what was happening. We are here, Don Vitale began, to adjudicate the petition filed by Donna Calabrese, requesting custody of Marco Santoro under Clause 47 of the Family Compact. Dominic Santoro has filed a counterpetition under Clause 52, the Sacred Bond. We will hear arguments from both sides, then deliberate. Our decision is final and binding. He looked at Donna. Mrs. Calabrese, please present your case. Donna stood, composed. Gentlemen, my daughter Isabella died bringing Marco into this world. It was the greatest tragedy of my life, losing a child. Watching her bleed out while doctors tried everything to save her, I have mourned every day since. Her voice cracked slightly, real emotion bleeding through. But I take comfort in knowing that part of Isabella lives on, in Marco, her son, my grandson. And it is my duty, my sacred duty as his grandmother, to ensure he is raised properly, with the values Isabella would have wanted, in a home filled with love and family. She paused. Instead, he is being raised by a stranger, a woman who has no connection to our family. No connection to Isabella, who appeared out of nowhere and attached herself to my grandson through an act that, while generous, does not make her his mother. Donna's eyes locked on Sarah. Ms. Mitchell lost her own child 6 months ago. Sudden infant death syndrome, a tragedy. I sympathize, truly. But her grief does not give her the right to claim my grandson as a replacement, to use him to fill the void left by her daughter's death. The words hit like physical blows. Sarah felt tears prick her eyes, force them back. Marco deserves to be raised by family, by blood, by people who loved his mother and will honor her memory, not by a stranger who happened to be on a plane at the right moment. Donna sat. The room was silent. Don Vitale looked at Dominic. Mr. Santoro, your response? Dominic stood. Everything Mrs. Calabrese said about Isabella is true. She was beautiful. Kent, and her death was the greatest tragedy of my life as well. I loved my wife. I still love her. And I will spend the rest of my life honoring her memory. He paused. But Marco is my son, mine. And while I respect the Calabrese family's grief, while I understand their desire to be part of Marco's life, I will not allow them to take him from me. The compact gives them that right, Don Moretti interjected. The compact also recognizes the sacred bond, Dominic countered. Clause 52 states that when a woman nurses a Don's child in the absence of the biological mother, she becomes that child's mother in the eyes of our traditions. Sarah Mitchell has done more than nurse Marco. She saved his life. He gestured to Russo, who stood, began presenting evidence. Medical records showing Marco's declining health in the first weeks, his refusal of bottles, his dangerous weight loss. Then the dramatic improvement after Sarah began nursing him. Weight gain, health improvements. A thriving baby where there'd been a dying one. Without Miss Mitchell, Russo said, Marco would be in a hospital. Feeding tube, potentially permanent damage. She didn't just feed him, she saved him. Many wet nurses have saved children, Donna said coldly. That doesn't make them mothers. You're right. Dominic's voice was sharp. But Sarah isn't just a wet nurse. She's Marco's mother, in every way that matters. And I can prove it. He looked at Sarah. Show them. Sarah's heart was pounding. This was it. The moment everything hinged on. She stood, Marco in her arms, walked to the center of the room, between the council and the Calabrese family. Motoko, she spoke softly, just to him. Marco, baby, look at mama. The baby's head turned immediately, eyes locking on her face. He smiled. Big, toothless, genuine smile. The kind of smile babies reserve for the people they love most. Who's mama's good boy? Sarah cooed. Who's my sweet baby? Marco giggled. Reached for her face with chubby hands. Sarah kissed his fingers, nuzzled his cheek. The baby laughed. Put a joy. Then she did something she and Dominic had discussed, practiced. She held Marco out, offering him to Donna. Would you like to hold your grandson? Donna stood, crossed the room, took Marco carefully. The baby looked at her, studied her face. Then his expression crumpled. He began to cry. Not hungry cry, not tired cry, scared cry, reaching back toward Sarah, twisting in Donna's arms, desperate to return to the familiar. Shh, Marco. Donna tried to soothe him. It's all right. I'm your nonna, your grandmother. But Marco's cries intensified, became screams, his face turning red, body rigid with distress. Sarah took him back. The moment he was in her arms, the moment she held him against her chest, he calmed, stopped crying, buried his face against her, seeking comfort. That, Dominic said quietly, is the bond. Marco knows his mother, and it's not blood, it's not tradition, it's love. The room was silent. Sarah sat back down, Marco already settling, already returning to his normal happy self. Don Vitale looked at his fellow Dons. Silent communication passing between them. We need to deliberate, he said finally. Everyone out. We'll call you back when we've reached a decision. The wait was torture. Sarah paced the hallway outside the sitting room, Marco in her arms, Dominic beside her, hand on her lower back, Russo and Luca nearby, Teresa wringing her hands. Donna and her daughters, three of them, all beautiful, all cold, waited at the other end of the hall, staring at Sarah like she was an interloper, a thief. Maybe she was. How long does deliberation usually take? Sarah asked. Anywhere from 10 minutes to 3 hours, Russo said. Depends on how divided they are. 30 minutes passed. Then an hour, said Marco, right there in the hallway, not caring who saw. The baby needed to eat. That was more important than modesty. Donna watched. Expression unreadable. Hour and a half. Sarah's nerves were screaming. Then the door opened. Don Vitale stood there. We've reached a decision. Please come in. This was it. Sarah's hands shook as she followed Dominic back into the sitting room. The 5 Dons sat behind their table, expressions grave. We have considered the evidence presented by both sides, Don Vitale began. The Calabrese family's petition under Clause 47, Mr. Santoro's counter-petition under Clause 52. We have examined the medical records, heard the testimony, and witnessed the interaction between Miss Mitchell and the child. He paused. Sarah's heart stopped. Our decision is as follows. While we recognize the Calabrese family's grief and their right to be part of Marco's life as his maternal relatives, we find that the sacred bond between Miss Mitchell and Marco is genuine, real, and supersedes the blood claim. Relief flooded through Sarah. They won. They fucking won. However, the word dropped like a stone. We have concerns about the nature of this arrangement. Miss Mitchell is not married to Mr. Santoro. She has no legal standing beyond the nursing bond. If something were to happen to Mr. Santoro, if he were to die or become incapacitated, Miss Mitchell would have no rights to Marco. The Calabrese family could petition again, and likely win. Don Vitale looked directly at Sarah. Therefore, our ruling is conditional. Miss Mitchell may retain her status as Marco's mother under Clause 52, but only if she marries Dominic Santoro within 30 days, becomes his wife legally, binds herself to the Santoro family permanently. What? If she refuses, if the marriage does not take place within 30 days, we will revisit the Calabrese petition and rule in their favor. Sarah couldn't breathe. Do you understand the terms, Miss Mitchell? She looked at Dominic. He was staring at her, eyes wide, clearly as shocked by this ruling as she was. They'd won, but only if she agreed to marry a man she'd known for less than 2 weeks. A mafia boss, a criminal, someone whose world was violent and dark and dangerous. Sarah looked down at Marco, sleeping peacefully in her arms, her son, in every way that mattered, then back up at the council. I understand, she said, her voice steady despite the terror flooding through her. And do you accept these terms? Sarah's eyes met Dominic's, saw the question there, the hope, the fear, saw the man who'd trusted her with his son, who'd opened his heart to her, who'd promised to protect her no matter what. Yes, she said, I accept. The ride back to the estate was silent. Sarah sat in the back of the SUV, Marco asleep in her arms, Teresa beside her offering quiet support, Dominic in the front, staring out the window, neither of them speaking. They'd won, sort of. Marco was hers, for now. But only if she married Dominic within 30 days. 30 fucking days. Sarah's mind was spinning, trying to process everything that had just happened. The hearing, Donna's cold assessment, the council's deliberation, the conditional ruling that had turned her victory into a trap or a gift. She didn't know which. When they pulled up to the mansion, Dominic finally spoke. We need to talk. Not a question. Sarah nodded. Undid Marco to Teresa. Put him down for his nap. I'll feed him when he wakes. Teresa took the baby, gave Sarah's hand a squeeze, then disappeared into the house, leaving Sarah and Dominic alone in the driveway. You don't have to do this, Dominic said immediately. The marriage, I'll find another way. Appeal the ruling. Challenge it. Something. There is no other way. Sarah's voice was flat. You heard Don Vitale. This is conditional. Either I marry you within 30 days or the Calabrese family gets Marco. Those are the options. So we fight them. And lose. Sarah cut him off. You know we'd lose. The council has ruled. If I refuse their terms, they'll see it as me not being committed to Marco, not being willing to fully join the family. They'll hand him over to Donna without a second thought. Dominic ran a hand through his hair, frustration radiating off him. I didn't want it like this. Forced. Coerced. You asked me 2 days ago, Sarah reminded him. Asked if I'd marry you after we won. I said maybe. That was different. That was giving you time, letting you choose. This is me choosing. Sarah stepped closer. I'm choosing Marco. I'm choosing to keep him safe, to keep him with us. If that means marrying you, then fine. We get married. You deserve better than fine. Maybe. Sarah's lips twitched, almost a smile. But this is what we've got. Dominic was quiet for a long moment. Then he cupped her face, gentle despite the calluses on his palms. I meant what I said before. I love you. I know. Do you love me? The question hung between them. Sarah wanted to lie, wanted to say it was just about Marco, just about doing what was necessary. But looking into those dark eyes, seeing the vulnerability there, the hope she couldn't. Yeah, she admitted, voice rough. I love you. God help me, but I do. Something blazed in Dominic's expression. He kissed her, hard and claiming. When he pulled back, both of them were breathing hard. Then we do this right, he said. Not just a courthouse signing, a real wedding, small, intimate, bootrat. You deserve that much. Dominic, no arguments. If we're doing this, we're doing it properly. Give me 2 weeks. I'll arrange everything. Sarah started to protest, then stopped. 2 weeks to prepare. 2 weeks to wrap her head around marrying a man she barely knew. 2 weeks before her entire life changed forever. Okay, she said softly. 2 weeks. Day 5 after the ruling. Sarah was in the nursery, feeding Marco. Evening feeding. Peaceful, quiet. Then she heard voices downstairs. Female voices. Multiple. No, Teresa. Someone else. Marco finished nursing. Sarah burked him, changed him, put him in the crib for his evening nap, then headed downstairs to investigate. The sitting room was full of women, 3 of them, all beautiful, all dressed in expensive clothes, all wearing expressions that ranged from curious to hostile. Donna Calabrese sat in the center, regal as always, flanked by her daughters. Gabriella, the oldest, tall, sleek black bob, red lipstick, designer suit, cold eyes. Sophia, middle daughter, softer features, but same calculating gaze. Anged Mattia, youngest, maybe 25, beautiful, and clearly the most hostile. Miss Mitchell. Donna's voice was formal. Thank you for seeing us. I didn't know I had a choice. Teresa appeared at Sarah's elbow, offering silent support. Please, seat. Donna gestured to the chair across from them. We have things to discuss. Sarah sat, spine straight, meeting Donna's gaze directly. What do you want? To establish boundaries. Donna's hands folded in her lap, calm, controlled. The council has ruled in your favor. For now, you will marry Dominic within 30 days. Become Marco's legal mother. I accept this, but I want to make something very clear. She leaned forward slightly. Isabella was my daughter. Marco is my grandson. And while you may become his legal mother through this marriage, you will never replace Isabella. Do you understand? I'm not trying to replace her, aren't you? Gabriella spoke for the first time, voice sharp. You're wearing her engagement ring. Sarah looked down at her hand. Shit, she was wearing Isabella's ring. Dominic had given it to her 3 days ago. After the ruling, a family heirloom, 3 carats, flawless diamond, beautiful and apparently Isabella's. Dominic gave me this, Sarah said carefully. I didn't ask for it. Of course he did. Maria's voice was bitter. Because you've got him wrapped around your finger, playing the grieving mother, the savior who rescued his son. It's pathetic. Maria. Donna's voice was sharp, warning, but Maria ignored her. You know what I think? I think you saw an opportunity. Saw a rich man with a baby who needed help, and you latched on, used your dead daughter to manipulate him, to get yourself set up for life. Sarah stood, rage flooding through her. Get the fuck out of my house. Your house? Maria laughed. This is Isabella's house. Her home. You're just a temporary guest playing dress-up. Oat, now, Sarah's voice was hard. Before I have security remove you, we're Marco's family, Gabriella said coldly. We have a right to see him. The council guaranteed us visitation. Not today, you don't. Not after that bullshit. Sarah looked at Donna. You want to have a relationship with Marco? Fine. We'll arrange supervised visits. Schedule them properly. But you don't get to show up unannounced and insult me in my home. Understand? Donna stood, composed despite the tension crackling through the room. We understand. And you're right. This visit was inappropriate. She shot a look at her daughters. We should have called first. Arranged a proper time. Yes, you should have. But Miss Mitchell, Sarah. Donna's voice softened slightly. Understand our position. Isabella was our world. Losing her destroyed us. And now we're being asked to watch another woman raise her son, wear her ring, sleep in her bed. It's difficult. Something in Sarah's anger cracked. She thought of Emma. How she'd feel if someone else was raising her daughter, calling themselves her mother. The rage, the grief, the helplessness. I get it, she said quietly. I do. But I'm not your enemy. I'm not trying to erase Isabella. I'm just trying to take care of Marco. Are you? Gabriella's eyes were hard. Or are you trying to take care of yourself? Both. Sarah met her gaze directly. I won't lie. Marco saved me. After Emma died, I was drowning, barely functioning. Then I met him, and suddenly I had a purpose again, a reason to keep going. So yeah, taking care of him helps me too. But that doesn't make my love for him any less real. The room was quiet. Then Donna nodded. Once. Sharp. Fair enough. We'll arrange proper visitation, through lawyers, scheduled and supervised as you said. But Sarah, she paused. Don't shut us out completely. We're Marco's family. His connection to Isabella. He deserves to know his mother's side. I agree. Sarah's voice was steady. Marco should know his grandmother, his aunts, should know about Isabella. I'll make sure of it. But on our terms, not your. Donna almost smiled. You're stronger than I thought. Good. You'll need that strength. Being married to a Don isn't easy. Then she and her daughters swept out, leaving Sarah standing in the sitting room, heart pounding. Teresa appeared with tea. Well handled, Miss Mitchell, was it? Sarah sank onto the couch. I just told Marco's grandmother to get the fuck out. You established boundaries. That's important. Donna respects strength. She'll push until she finds your limits. Better to show them early. Sarah took the tea, hands shaking slightly. Teza, can I ask you something? Of course. Isabella. What was she like? Teresa was quiet for a long moment, then sat beside Sarah. She was kind, gentle, beautiful inside and out. Dominic loved her, truly, but she hesitated. But what? But she wasn't strong enough for this life. The violence, the danger, the constant threat. It ate at her, made her anxious, fearful. By the end of her pregnancy, she was barely functioning, terrified of bringing a child into this world. Teresa's eyes met Sarah's. You're different. You have steel in you. Strength Isabella never had. That's why Dominic loves you. Not because you're replacing his wife, but because you're exactly what he and Marco need. Sarah wanted to believe that. Wanted to think she wasn't just a replacement, a substitute for the woman Dominic had really loved. But wearing Isabella's ring, sleeping in her house, raising her son, it was hard not to feel like a ghost. Day 10 after the ruling. Wedding planning was in full swing. Teresa had taken charge, organizing everything with military precision. Flowers, catering, music. Westleast small wedding, Dominic had promised. Immediate family only, which in the Mafia world meant about 50 people. Sarah stood in the bedroom, looking at herself in the mirror. Wedding dress fitting. The gown was beautiful, simple, elegant. Cream-colored lace, off-shoulder, flowing skirt. Not white. Sarah couldn't wear white. Not after everything. It's perfect, Teresa said from the doorway. You look beautiful. I look like I'm playing dress-up. You look like a bride. Sarah turned, studying her reflection. 2 weeks. In 2 weeks she'd married Dominic Santoro, become his wife, Marco's legal mother, part of this world permanently. No going back. The Teza, can I ask you something? Always. Do you think I'm making a mistake? The older woman was quiet. Then moved into the room, stood beside Sarah, both of them looking at their reflections. I think you're terrified, Teresa said gently. I think you're grieving. I think you're in love with a man you barely know, and I think you're about to bind yourself to a world you don't understand. Any sane person would call that a mistake, But I've watched you these past 2 weeks, watched you with Marco, with Dominic. You're not just going through the motions, you're building a family, creating something real from the ashes of grief. That's not a mistake, that's survival. Sarah's eyes burned with tears. What if I can't do this? What if I'm not strong enough? You've already proven you are. You stood up to Donna. You fought for Marco in front of the council. You've survived loss that would destroy most people. You're stronger than you think. I'm scared. Good. Fear keeps you sharp, keeps you careful. Just don't let it paralyze you. A knock at the door interrupted them. Dominic stood there, eyes widening when he saw Sarah in the wedding dress. Fuck, he breathed. You're beautiful. You're not supposed to see me before the wedding. Bad luck. We're already cursed. What's a little more bad luck? He stepped into the room, Teresa quietly slipping out, giving them privacy. Dominic circled Sarah slowly, taking in every detail. You're sure about this? He asked quietly. Marrying me, tying yourself to this life. It's not too late to back out. The council said, fuck the council. I'll find another way. I won't trap you in a marriage you don't want. Sarah turned to face him. What if I want it? Something blazed in his eyes. Do you? I'm terrified. I'm grieving. I'm probably insane. But yes, I want this. I want you. I want Marco. I want this fucked up family we're building. Dominic pulled her against him, careful not to crush the dress. I don't deserve you. Probably not. He laughed. Actually laughed. Then kissed her, soft and reverent. 2 more weeks, he murmured against her lips. Then you're mine. Legally. Permanently. I'm already yours. Say that again after the wedding, when it's real. Day 12 after the ruling. Sarah was feeding Marco. Late night feeding. 2 a.m. Peaceful, quiet. Then her phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. She almost ignored it. Probably spam. But something made her check. The message made her blood run cold. You think you've won. You think you're safe. But you're not. Isabella's death wasn't an accident, and if you're not careful, you'll end up the same way. Sarah's hands shook. She read it again, making sure she'd understood correctly. Isabella's death wasn't an accident. What the fuck did that mean? Isabella had died in childbirth, hemorrhaged. The doctors had tried everything. Natural causes. Tragic but not suspicious. Right. Another text came through. Ask Dominic about the Moretti family. Ask him what really happened the night Isabella died. Sarah stood, still holding Marco, who'd finished nursing and was drifting off to sleep. She put him in the crib, made sure he was secure, then grabbed her phone and headed downstairs. Dominic was in his office, working late, going over business. Sarah pushed the door open without knocking. He looked up, surprised. Sarah, everything okay? Who are the Morettis? Dominic's expression went carefully blank. What? The Moretti family. Who are they? What happened the night Isabella died? Where is this coming from? Sarah shoved her phone at him, showing him the texts. Dominic's face went dark. Dangerous. Where did you get this number? I don't know. Unknown sender. But they're making some pretty serious accusations. So I'm asking, what happened to Isabella? Dominic was quiet for a long moment. Then he stood, closed the office door, locked it. Seat, Dominic, seat, please. This is going to take a while. Sarah sat, heart pounding. Dominic poured himself a drink. Whiskey, neat. Drained it in one swallow, then poured another. The Moretti family is our biggest rival, he began, voice flat. Has been for 3 generations. Territory disputes, business conflicts, blood feuds, standard mafia bullshit. What do they have to do with Isabella? Everything. Dominic's jaw clenched. Isabella wasn't just my wife. She was the daughter of the Calabrese family, one of the most powerful families in the organization. Our marriage was strategic, an alliance between Santoro and Calabrese, uniting 2 major families against the Morettis. Sarah's stomach twisted. So it was arranged. It was complicated. Dominic drained the second drink. I cared about Isabella, loved her in my way, but yeah, it was strategic, and the Morettis hated it, saw it as a threat, a consolidation of power that would crush them. So what? They killed her? I don't know. Dominic's voice was raw. I've suspected, investigated, but I've never found proof. Isabella went into labor early, 36 weeks, sudden, unexpected. She hemorrhaged during delivery. Doctors couldn't stop it. She died within an hour. And you think the Morettis caused it somehow? I think it's suspicious. I think the timing was convenient for them. I think they had motive and opportunity. But I can't prove it. Sarah felt sick. Does Donna know? She suspects, same as me. But without proof, there's nothing we can do. Accusing another family without evidence would start a war, kill hundreds, maybe thousands. So you've just been sitting on this? Letting Isabella's murderers walk free? What choice do I have? Dominic's voice was sharp, angry. I've torn apart every lead, questioned every doctor, every nurse, every person who was in that hospital that night. Nothing. If the Morettis were involved, they covered it perfectly. Sarah stood, pacing. Why are they texting me now? Why bring this up? To scare you, to make you doubt me, to drive a wedge between us before the wedding. Is it working? Dominic crossed to her, hands on her shoulders. You tell me, are you having doubts? Sarah looked up at him. This man, this dangerous, complicated, possibly murderous man, who might have enemies powerful enough to kill his pregnant wife, who might be putting Sarah in the same danger just by marrying her. I'm fucking terrified, she admitted. Good, you should be. This life is dangerous. My enemies are ruthless. And marrying me puts a target on your back. But Sarah, his voice softened, I will protect you with everything I have, every resource, every weapon, every ounce of power I possess. Nothing will happen to you. I swear it. You couldn't protect Isabella. The words hung between them. Brutal, true. Dominic flinched. No, I couldn't. And I live with that failure every day. But I've learned. I'm stronger now, more careful, more paranoid. What happened to Isabella won't happen to you. You can't promise that. Watch me. Sarah wanted to believe him, wanted to think she'd be safe, that love and determination would be enough. But Isabella had been loved too, and she'd died anyway. I need time to think, Sarah said quietly. The wedding is in 2 days. I know. Sarah, I said I need time. Please. Dominic's hands dropped from her shoulders. Okay, take the time you need. But Sarah, don't let them win. Don't let the Morettis scare you away. That's exactly what they want. Sarah nodded, then fled the office, back upstairs, back to the nursery, where Marco slept peacefully, unaware that his mother had possibly been murdered, unaware that Sarah might be next. Sarah sank into the rocking chair, stared at the sleeping baby. 2 days. In 2 days, she'd either marry Dominic and step fully into this dangerous world, or she'd refuse. Lozi Marco, lose everything, some fucking choice. Day 13 after the ruling. Sarah hadn't slept, spent the night in the nursery, feeding Marco, rocking him, thinking. By morning, she'd made her decision. She found Dominic in the kitchen, drinking coffee, looking like he hadn't slept either. I'm still marrying you, she said without preamble. Relief flooded his face. Sarah, but I have conditions, new conditions, beyond what the council required. Name them. I want the truth. Always. No more secrets. No more strategic omissions. If there's danger, I need to know. If you suspect something, I need to know. Complete honesty. Done. I want self-defense training, weapons. I want to be able to protect myself and Marco if something happens. I'll arrange it. And I want the Moretti investigation reopened, properly, with every resource you have. If they killed Isabella, I want proof, and I want justice. Dominic was quiet. That could start a war. Then we go to war. Something fierce and proud blazed in his eyes. You're sure? I'm terrified, but I'm sure. Isabella deserves justice. Marco deserves to know the truth about his mother. And I deserve to know what I'm walking into. Dominic crossed to her, pulled her into his arms. I love you, he said roughly. God, I love you. I love you too, even though you're probably going to get me killed. He laughed, dark and pained. I'll die before I let that happen. Don't make promises you can't keep. That's one I can. Sarah pulled back, looked up at him. One more day. Then we're married. Then I'm in this completely. No going back. No going back, Dominic echoed. Then he kissed her, and Sarah let herself believe just for a moment that everything would be okay. That love would be enough. That they'd survive whatever came next, even though deep down she knew better. The wedding day arrived like a storm. Gray skies, cold wind. February in New Jersey refusing to cooperate with anyone's plans. Sarah stood in front of the mirror in her bedroom. Teresa fussing with the dress, making last-minute adjustments. You're fidgeting, Teresa said, not unkindly. I'm getting married. That's generally what happens on wedding days. Sarah caught Teresa's eyes in the mirror. What if this is a mistake? Then it's your mistake to make. Teresa smoothed the lace at Sarah's shoulders. But for what it's worth, I don't think it is. A knock at the door. Luca's voice. Ms. Mitchell. Someone here to see you. Sarah frowned. Who? The door opened. Donna Calabrese stood there, dressed in black as always, but softer somehow, less severe. Mrs. Calabrese. Sarah's voice was careful. I wasn't expecting you until the ceremony. May I have a moment alone? Teresa looked at Sarah. Silent question. Sarah nodded. It's fine. Teresa slipped out, leaving Sarah and Donna alone. You look beautiful, Donna said quietly. That dress suits you. Thank you. Awkward silence. Then Donna crossed the room, stopped in front of Sarah. I came to give you something. Something Isabella would have wanted you to have. She held out a small velvet box. Sarah took it carefully, opened it. Inside was a necklace, delicate gold chain, small pendant, a Madonna and child. It was Isabella's, Donna said, voice thick with emotion. Her grandmother gave it to her on her wedding day, said it would protect her, keep her safe, bring her children. Sarah's throat tightened. I can't take this. You can. You must. Donna's eyes met hers. Isabella is gone, but Marco remains. And you, whether I like it or not, are his mother now. This necklace should stay with Marco's mother. Sarah's hands shook as she lifted the necklace. Teresa must have heard. She appeared in the doorway, came forward without a word, fastened the necklace around Sarah's throat. The pendant settled against Sarah's skin, warm, like it had been waiting. There's something else, Donna said. Something you should know. About Isabella's death. Sarah's heart stopped. What about it? I've had my own people investigating, quietly, for 2 years. And yesterday they found something. Donna pulled out a folder, handed it to Sarah. What is this? Bruff, that Isabella's death wasn't natural. That someone tampered with her medication during labor, caused the hemorrhaging. Sarah's hand shook as she opened the folder. Medical records, lab reports, analysis showing traces of a drug that shouldn't have been there. A drug that would cause uncontrolled bleeding. Who? Sarah's voice was barely a whisper. The Moretti family. We traced the nurse who administered the medication. She was being paid by them. Has been for years. A plant in the hospital. Waiting for the right opportunity. Rage flooded through Sarah. Does Dominic know? Not yet. I wanted to tell you first. On your wedding day. So you'd understand what you're walking into. What being part of this family means. It means war. Yes, Donna's voice was hard. The council meets in 3 days. I'm presenting this evidence, demanding justice for my daughter. The Moretti family will be held accountable, destroyed if necessary. And Dominic will lead the charge, as is his right, as Isabella's husband, as the Don. Donna paused. But.Sarah, this will be dangerous. The Morettis won't go quietly. They'll fight back. Try to hurt Dominic any way they can. And that means hurting you, hurting Marco. I'm not afraid. You should be, maybe. Sarah closed the folder, handed it back. But I'm still marrying him, still fighting, still protecting Marco. Whatever it takes. Donna studied her for a long moment, then nodded. Once. Sharp. Good. You'll need that fire. Welcome to the family, Sarah. Truly. Then she left. Sarah stood alone in the bedroom, heart pounding. Isabella had been murdered. The Morettis had killed her deliberately, strategically. And in a few hours, Sarah would marry the man the Morettis wanted dead next. Fuck. The ceremony was small, intimate, held in the mansion's library, walls lined with books, fire crackling in the massive fireplace, 50 guests, all family, all dangerous. Sarah walked down the makeshift aisle alone, no father to give her away, no family present, just her, in Isabella's wedding dress, wearing Isabella's necklace, about to marry Isabella's husband. Dominic waited at the front, in a black suit, looking devastatingly handsome. His eyes never left her face. Marco was there, in Teresa's arms, babbling happily, completely unaware. The priest began. Old school, Italian, speaking in Latin half the time. Sarah barely heard him. All she could see was Dominic. This man she barely knew. This criminal, this father, this lover. Do you, Sarah Catherine Mitchell, take Dominic Antonio Santoro to be your lawfully wedded husband? To have and to hold from this day forward? For better or worse, for richer or poorer? In sickness and in health? Until death do you part? Death, always death in this world. Sarah's mouth was dry. She looked at Marco. At this baby she'd die to protect. Then at Dominic. At the man offering her everything. I do. And do you, Dominic Antonio Santoro, take Sarah Catherine Mitchell to be your lawfully wedded wife? To have and to hold from this day forward, for better or worse, for richer or poorer, in sickness and in health, until death do you part? I do. No hesitation. Absolute certainty. Then by the power vested in me I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss your bride. Dominic pulled Sarah against him, kissed her like she was oxygen and he'd been drowning. The guests erupted in applause, but Sarah barely heard it. All she could feel was Dominic's arms around her, his lips on hers, the weight of the ring he'd just slid onto her finger. She was married to a mafia boss, in a world that had already killed one wife. God help her. The reception was controlled chaos. Food, wine, music, laughter. Sarah moved through it in a daze, accepting congratulations, smiling, playing the part of happy bride, all while her mind spun with Donna's revelation. Isabella had been murdered. In 3 days, the council would know. In 3 days, war would start. You okay? Dominic appeared at her elbow, hand on her lower back, grounding her. Fina, just overwhelmed. Want to slip away? No one would notice. Your wedding reception, they'd notice. Fuck them. This is about us. Sarah almost laughed. Then Marco started crying. Hungry cry, right on schedule. Duty calls, she said. Dominic followed her upstairs, to the nursery. Sarah settled into the rocking chair, unbuttoned her wedding dress, put Marco to breast. The baby latched immediately. Contented sigh. Dominic watched from his usual chair. We did it, he said quietly. Yeah, you're my wife now. Yeah. Sarah, look at me. She did. What's wrong? And don't say nothing. I can see it on your face. Sarah was quiet for a long moment, then decided, fuck it, complete honesty. That was the deal. Your mother-in-law gave me something today. Besides the necklace. She told him about the folder, the evidence, the proof that Isabella had been murdered. Watched Dominic's face go from shock to enraged to coldly controlled. She's presenting it to the council in 3 days, Sarah finished. 3 days. Dominic's voice was flat. Dangerous. The Morettis killed my wife. And in 3 days, the council will sanction their destruction. You're going to war. We're going to war. He looked at her, eyes blazing. You're part of this family now. This is your fight too. I know. Are you ready for that? For what comes next? Sarah looked down at Marco, nursing peacefully her son, legally now, officially. I married you knowing what you are, she said quietly. Knowing the danger. I'm not backing out now. Even if it gets you killed, even then. Dominic stood, crossed to her, knelt beside the rocking chair. I will protect you, he said fiercely. Both of you, whatever it takes, I swear it. Don't make promises you can't keep. That's one I can. He cupped her face. I lost Isabella. I won't lose you too. You can't control everything. Watch me. Then he kissed her, careful not to disturb Marco. When he pulled back, both of them were breathing hard. Wedding night, Dominic murmured. Soon as Marco's asleep, you're mine. Possessive much, you have no idea. Later, Marco asleep in his crib, monitor on, Teresa on standby. Sarah stood in the master bedroom. This room had been Isabella's, Dominic's and Isabella's. Now it was hers. The thought made her stomach twist. Dominic entered, locked the door behind him, still in his wedding suit, jacket discarded, shirt unbuttoned, looking at her like he wanted to devour her. Having second thoughts, his voice was low. Dangerous. About the wedding? Little late for that. About this, he gestured between them. You and me. Tonight. Sarah's mouth was dry. Truth was, yeah, she was nervous as hell. They'd kissed, touched, but never gone further. Always stopping before things got too intense. But tonight was different. Tonight she was his wife. Tonight there were expectations. Sarah, Dominic crossed to her, hands framing her face. We don't have to do anything. Not if you're not ready. I'm ready, I'm just scared. Yeah. Of me? Of everything. Dominic kissed her forehead, soft, reverent. Then we go slow. We do what feels right. No pressure, no expectations. This is our wedding night. So what? I'd rather wait a year and have you willing than push you into something you're not ready for. Sarah looked up at him. This dangerous man, this killer, this Don, who was being so fucking gentle with her. I want this, she said quietly. I want you. I'm just nervous. Then let me take care of you. He kissed her, slow and deep, his hands moving to the buttons of her dress. Sarah's breath hitched, but she didn't stop him. The dress fell away, pooling at her feet, leaving her in nothing but the necklace. Isabella's necklace. Dominic's eyes darkened. Fuck, you're beautiful. I'm not her. I know. His hands skimmed up her sides. You're better. Dominic, I mean it. Isabella was kind, gentle, good, but she wasn't you. Wasn't strong enough for this life, wasn't fierce enough, wasn't. He stopped. She wasn't what I needed. And I am? Yeah, you are. Then his mouth was on hers again, hands exploring, learning her body. Sarah's head spun. This was real. This was happening. She was married, having sex with her husband, her mafia boss husband who might get her killed. Fuck it. She pulled him toward the bed. Dominic went willingly, stripped off his remaining clothes with efficient movements, then covered her body with his, skin on skin, heat and muscle and want. Tell me if you want me to stop, he murmured against her throat. Don't stop. Sarah, don't fucking stop. So he didn't. After, Sarah lay in Dominic's arms, both of them spent and breathless. The room was dark. Fire dying in the fireplace. Marco still sleeping peacefully in the nursery next door. You okay? Dominic's voice was rough. Yeah. Not regretting this? Ask me in the morning. He laughed, pulled her closer. Sarah nestled against his chest, listening to his heartbeat. This was her life now. Married to a criminal, mother to his son, part of a world that killed without hesitation, and somehow, despite everything, she felt safe, loved. Home, Dominic. Yeah? Don't die on me, okay? Whatever happens with the Morettis, whatever war comes, don't leave me and Marco. His arms tightened around her. I won't, I promise. You can't promise that. I just did. Sarah closed her eyes, tried to believe him, tried not to think about Isabella, who'd probably believed the same promises, who'd died anyway. I love you, she whispered. I love you too. Then sleep claimed her. And for one night, one perfect night, Sarah let herself believe everything would be okay, even though she knew better. 3 days later, the council convened. Emergency session. All 5 families present, plus the Santoro family and the Calabrese family. United front. Sarah sat beside Dominic, wearing black. Conservative, appropriate. Marco in Teresa's arms. Safe, protected. Donna stood before the council, presenting her evidence. Medical records, lab reports, testimony from the nurse who'd been paid to kill Isabella. The room was silent as she spoke, laying out the Moretti family's crime in brutal detail. When she finished, Don Vitale looked at Don Moretti. The older man sat stone-faced, giving nothing away. These are serious accusations, Don Vitale said quietly. Murder of a Don's wife, conspiracy, betrayal of the families. How do you respond? Don Moretti stood. Lies, he said flatly, all of it. The Calabrese family is manufacturing evidence, trying to destroy us because they're weak, because their daughter died and they need someone to blame. We have proof, Donna said coldly. You have a nurse who'll say anything for money. Lab reports that could be falsified. Nothing concrete. The council will investigate, Don Vitale said, independently. If the evidence supports the Calabrese claim, the Moretti family will be held accountable. Full sanctions. Possible dissolution. And if it doesn't? Don Moretti's eyes were hard. Then the Calabrese family will be sanctioned for false accusations. Donna nodded. I accept those terms. As do I, Don Moretti said. But his eyes slid to Sarah. Cold, calculating. And Sarah knew. Knew that whatever the council found, the Morettis wouldn't go down without a fight. Wouldn't let this insult stand. They'd come for revenge. And Sarah was the easiest target. She felt Dominic's hand find hers under the table, squeezing, grounding. We'll be okay, he murmured, too quiet for anyone else to hear. Sarah wanted to believe him, but the look in Don Moretti's eyes said otherwise. That night, Sarah was feeding Marco. Late feeding. Midnight, peaceful, quiet. Then the power went out, complete darkness. Sarah's heart stopped. Dominic, she called out. No answer. Fuck. Sarah grabbed Marco, still latched, wrapped him in a blanket, moved toward the door. It burst open. Not Dominic, a stranger, gun in hand. Well, the man said, smiling. The new Mrs. Santoro. Don Moretti sends his regards. Sarah ran, burst through the door, down the hallway. Marco screaming now, terrified. Footsteps behind her, getting closer. She made it to the stairs. Someone grabbed her from behind. Sarah screamed, fought, clawed. Fucking bitch. The man's grip loosened. Sarah twisted, bit down hard on his hand. He howled, released her. Sarah stumbled down the stairs. Marco clutched to her chest, protecting him with her body. Made it to the first floor, saw Dominic, fighting 2 men, blood on his face. Sarah, run, she ran. Out the front door, into the night. Cold, dark, raining. Sarah's feet were bare, dress soaked, but she kept running. Had to protect Marco, had to keep him safe. Headlights appeared. An SUV. Screeching to a stop, the door opened. Get in. Sarah dove into the vehicle. Luca floored it. Behind them, the mansion erupted in gunfire. Dominic, he'll be fine. He sent me to get you out. You and the baby. Sarah looked down at Marco. The baby was hysterical, screaming, shaking. She tried to soothe him, put him back to breast. He wouldn't latch. Too upset. Where are we going? Safe house, outside the city. Dominic will meet us there. What happened? The Morettis made their move. Hit us tonight. Trying to take you. Kill Marco. Eliminate the Santoro line before the council rules. How many? Don't know yet. Could be a dozen. Could be more. Sarah held Marco tighter. This was her life now. Running for her life in the middle of the night. Her husband fighting for his life back at the mansion. Her son traumatized and terrified. All because she'd married into this world. I've got weapons in the glove box, Lucas said. Eyes on the road. You know how to shoot? No. Then it's time you learned. He reached over, pulled out a handgun. Basic safety. Always assume it's loaded. Never point it at anything you don't intend to kill. Finger off the trigger until you're ready to shoot. Got it? Sarah took the gun with shaking hands. Yeah, I got it. Good. Because if they catch up to us, you're going to need to use it. Sarah looked down at Marco, at this baby she'd promised to protect, then at the gun in her hand, and made a decision. If the Morettis came for her son, she'd kill every last one of them. Without hesitation, without mercy. She was a mother now, and mothers protected their children, no matter what. The safe house was a shithole. Some rundown cabin in the woods, 2 hours outside Newark. No heat, no power. Just a generator that coughed to life when Luca flipped the switch. Sarah stumbled inside, Marco still screaming in her arms. The baby was beyond soothing now, terrified, cold, hungry but too upset to eat. Let me check the perimeter, Luca said. Already moving, gun drawn. Lock the door behind me. Don't open it for anyone but Dominic or me. Then he was gone. Sarah locked the door, hands shaking, looked around the cabin. One room, bare mattress on a metal frame, small bathroom, kitchen that looked like it hadn't been used in years. This was where they were supposed to hide. This was where they were supposed to be safe. Fuck. Sarah moved to the mattress, sat down. Marco's cries had turned hoarse. Shh, baby. Shh. Mama's here. She unbuttoned her soaked dress, put him to breast. This time he latched, desperate, seeking comfort in the familiar. Sarah rocked him, tears streaming down her face. This was her fault. She'd married Dominic knowing the danger, knowing what it would mean. And now Marco was paying the price. Traumatized, scared, running for his life before he'd even turned 3 months old. What kind of mother let this happen? The door handle rattled. Sarah's heart stopped. She grabbed the gun Luca had given her, still holding Marco with one arm. Sarah, it's me. Dominic's voice. Sarah unlocked the door, threw it open. Dominic stood there, covered in blood, face bruised, cut above his eye reopened, but alive. Whole. Thank fuck, he breathed, pulling her into his arms. Thank fuck you're okay. Are you hurt? Is that your blood? Some of it. He pulled back, looked at Marco. Is he okay? Scared, but okay. Dominic took them both in his arms, Marco between them. Family. Broken, bloody, but together. What happened? Sarah asked. The Moretti sent a hit squad. 20 men. Maybe more. We took out most of them. The rest scattered when backup arrived. Casualties? 3 of mine dead. 6 wounded, including Teresa. Sarah's breath caught. Is she? She'll live. Took a bullet to the shoulder, but she's tough, already bitching about the hospital food. Relief flooded through Sarah. And the Morettis? 12 dead. The rest we captured. They're being questioned now. We'll know who ordered the hit within the hour. You already know. Yeah, but I need proof. Need confessions, need something to take to the council. Dominic moved further into the cabin, taking in the sorry state of their shelter. Fuck. This is all we have? Luca said it was the closest safe house. It's a fucking dump. He ran a hand through his hair, blood flaking off. You and Marco deserve better than this. We're alive. That's what matters. Dominic cupped her face. Ais intense. I'm sorry for all of this, for putting you in danger. Or, stop. Sarah cut him off. I knew what I was signing up for. I chose this. You chose to be a mother, not a target. Same thing in your world. He couldn't argue with that. Marco had finished nursing, was drifting off to sleep, exhausted from terror and tears. Sarah laid him on the mattress, surrounded by pillows, creating a safe nest, then turned to Dominic. You look like hell. Feel worse? Bathroom now. Let me look at those injuries. Sarah, now. Dominic followed her into the tiny bathroom. Sarah turned on the tap. Water ran cold, then lukewarm, good enough. She wet a towel, began cleaning the blood from Dominic's face. He winced but didn't pull away. Most of this isn't mine, he said quietly. I don't care. I need to see what is. She worked methodically, cleaning, assessing. The cut above his eye, split knuckles, bruised ribs, but nothing life-threatening. You were lucky. Wasn't luck, was training. He caught her hand. Sarah, I need to ask you something. What? What you did tonight. Running, protecting Marco, fighting back. That took courage. I didn't fight. I ran. You bit a man hard enough to make him let go. You got yourself and Marco out alive. That's fighting. Sarah was quiet. I need to know if you can do it again, Dominic said. Can you fight? Can you kill if you have to? Can you do whatever it takes to protect yourself and Marco? You're asking if I can be like you. I'm asking if you can survive in this world. Sarah thought about it, really thought about it. Could she kill? Could she pull a trigger and end a life? A week ago she'd have said no. Absolutely not. She was a nurse. She saved lives. She didn't take them. But tonight, when that man had grabbed her, When Marco had been screaming, when she'd seen the gun, yeah. She'd have killed him without hesitation, would have done anything to protect her son. Yes, she said quietly, I can kill. If it means keeping Marco safe, I can do whatever it takes. Something fierce and proud blazed in Dominic's eyes. Then tomorrow we start training, properly. No more hoping I'll be there to protect you. You learn to protect yourself. Okay. I said okay. What more do you want? I want you to understand what that means. What I'm asking, it's not just shooting at a range. It's learning to kill, learning to live with blood on your hands, learning to be someone you never wanted to be. I'm already someone I never wanted to be, Sarah said, voice hard. A widow at 32, a mother to a dead daughter, a target for Mafia hit squads. Adding killer to the list doesn't seem like much of a stretch. Dominic pulled her against him. I'm sorry. Stop apologizing. We're in this together, for better or worse. Remember? Till death do us part. Yeah. They stood there, holding each other, in the shitty bathroom of a shitty safe house, while Marco slept in the next room. And somewhere out there the Moretti family planned their next move. This was their life now, and they'd survive it together or die trying. Morning came cold and gray. Sarah woke to Marco's cries. Hungry, right on schedule. She fed him, changed him. All the normal morning routines, except nothing about this was normal. Dominic was on the phone, speaking rapid Italian, voice hard. When he hung up, his expression was grim. The council is convening again. Today, emergency session. About the attack? About everything. The investigation into Isabella's death came back. Donna's evidence was solid. The Morettis absolutely killed her, and last night's attack on us was the final straw. What does that mean? It means the council is going to sanction the Moretti family, strip their territory, dissolve their organization, divide their assets among the other families, and Don Moretti, execution, probably, along with anyone directly involved in Isabella's death. Sarah should have felt something. Horror maybe, revulsion, but all she felt was cold satisfaction. Good. They deserved it. When do we go back to the city? We don't. You stay here, with Luca and a security team, until this is resolved. Fuck that. I'm coming with you. Sarah, no. I'm your wife. I'm part of this family. I'm not hiding while you handle everything. It's not safe. It's never going to be safe. That's the point. But I'm not sitting in this cabin while you face the council alone. I won't be alone. I'll have my family, my people. I'm your family now. Me and Marco. We go where you go. Dominic looked like he wanted to argue, then stopped. You're sure? I'm sure. Then we all go. Together. But Sarah, at the first sign of trouble, you take Marco and run. Understand? Understood. The council convened at a neutral location. Some hotel conference room in Manhattan. Locked down. Security everywhere. Sarah walked in with Dominic, Marco in her arms, making a statement. They were a family, united. The 5 Dons sat at the head table. Don Moretti notably absent. In his place his son, younger, arrogant, furious. This is a farce, the younger Moretti spat. You're destroying my family based on lies. Fabricated evidence. You're all cowards. Careful, Don Vitale said quietly. You're already on thin ice. My father did nothing wrong. Isabella's death was a tragedy, not a murder, and the attack last night was self-defense. The Santoros have been gunning for us for years. We had the right to strike first. You attacked a woman and infant in their home, Donna said. Voice like ice. You sent 20 armed men to kill a baby. That's not self-defense. That's attempted genocide. The baby is a Santoro. He'll grow up to be a monster just like his father. We were eliminating a future threat. The room went silent. Sarah felt Dominic tense beside her, felt the rage rolling off him in waves. You're admitting it then, Don Vitale said. Admitting to the attack. I'm admitting nothing. I'm saying the Morettis have been under siege by the Santoros and Calabreses for years. We defend ourselves. That's our right. Not anymore. Don Vitale's voice was absolute. The council has reviewed the evidence. The investigation into Isabella Santoro's death conclusively proves Moretti involvement. The nurse has confessed. The paper trail leads directly to your father. And last night's attack on the Santoro home was witnessed by multiple neutral parties. He paused. Our ruling is as follows. The Moretti family is hereby stripped of all territory, all business interests, all council representation. Don Moretti is sentenced to death for the murder of Isabella Santoro. His execution will be carried out within 72 hours. You can't. We can. We have. The ruling is final. Younger Moretti lunged across the table. Security grabbed him, dragged him back. This isn't over, he screamed. You think you've won? You've started a war. We have allies, people who stand with us. You'll all burn for this. Escort him out, Don Vitale said calmly. Moretti was dragged from the room, still screaming threats. Sarah held Marco tighter. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. The Morettis might be stripped of their power, but they still had resources, still had people loyal to them, and desperate people did desperate things. The Santoro family will absorb the Moretti territory in Newark, Don Vitale continued. The Calabrese family gets their interests in Brooklyn. The remaining assets will be divided among the other families. Dominic nodded. Thank you. Don't thank us yet. The Morettis won't go quietly. You'll need to fortify your defenses. Expect retaliation. We're ready. Are you? Don Vitale looked at Sarah. Marco. Your family has already been attacked once. They're vulnerable. If I were the Morettis, that's where I'd strike next. We'll protect them. See that you do. They returned to the mansion that afternoon. The damage was extensive. Windows shattered. Bullet holes in the walls. Blood stains on the marble floors. But it was home. Teresa was there. Arm in a sling. Already directing repairs. Miss Sarah, Mr. Dominic, thank God you're safe. Teteza, you should be in the hospital. Hospitals are for the weak. I've got work to do. Sarah almost smiled, then looked around at the destruction. This was their home, their sanctuary, and it had been violated. We need to move, she said quietly. Dominic looked at her. What? This house is not safe anymore. The Morettis know the layout, know the defenses. They'll come back. Next time they'll be better prepared. So we fortify. Increase security. Build better defenses. Or we leave. Start fresh somewhere they don't expect. Dominic was quiet, then nodded slowly. You're right. This house is compromised. We need a new base. Where? I own property upstate. Compound in the mountains. Humot. Defensible. We could move there. Stay until the Moretti threat is eliminated. How long would that take? Weeks, maybe months. Sarah looked down at Marco, sleeping peacefully in her arms, unaware that his whole world was about to change again. Then we go. Today. Pack what we need and leave tonight. You're sure? I'm sure. This place is tainted now. I don't feel safe here anymore. Marco doesn't feel safe here. Dominic pulled her close, kissed her forehead. Then we go. Tonight. All of us. The compound was beautiful, nestled in the Catskills, surrounded by forest, private road, gates, walls, security everywhere, but also peaceful, quiet, a place where they could breathe. Sarah walked through the main house, taking it in, smaller than the Newark mansion, but still spacious. 5 bedrooms, modern kitchen, library, nursery already set up from when Isabella was pregnant. Tatstung. But Sarah pushed it aside. This was their home now, their sanctuary. What do you think? Dominic appeared beside her. It's perfect. Yeah? Yeah, he pulled her into his arms. We'll be safe here, I promise. Don't make promises you can't keep. I can keep this one. Sarah wanted to believe him, wanted to think they'd found their safe haven. But she knew better. The Morettis were still out there, still dangerous. And they wouldn't stop until Dominic was dead, until Sarah was dead, until Marco was dead. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. 2 weeks at the compound, peaceful, almost boring. Sarah spent her days with Marco, feeding him, playing with him, watching him grow stronger. He was thriving, almost 3 months old now, smiling, babbling, reaching for toys. A normal baby. Except for the armed guards outside his nursery, Dominic was around more. The distance from Newark forcing him to delegate. He spent mornings with Sarah and Marco, afternoons handling business, evenings with his family. It was almost domestic, almost normal. Then the call came. Sarah was feeding Marco, late afternoon feeding. Peaceful. Dominic's phone rang. He answered, listened, face going pale. When? Pause. How many? Pause. Fuck. He hung up, looked at Sarah. What happened? Don Moretti is dead. Executed this morning as ordered. That's good, right? His son is missing. Disappeared from custody last night, along with 12 of his most loyal soldiers. Sarah's blood ran cold. They're coming for us. Probably. Yeah. When? Could be hours, could be days. We don't know. Sarah looked down at Marco, finished nursing, drifting off to sleep. Her son, her baby, who was about to become a target again. What do? We prepare, fortify, get ready to defend this place with everything we have. And if they breach the walls, they won't. But if they do, Dominic crossed to her, knelt beside the rocking chair. Then you take Marco and run. There's a bunker under the house, hidden, stocked with supplies. You get in there, lock the door. Don't come out until I come for you. Dominic, promise me, no matter what happens, no matter what you hear, you protect Marco first, always. Sarah's eyes burned with tears. I promise. Good. He kissed her, hard and desperate, then stood. I need to coordinate defenses. Lucas bringing in reinforcements. We'll be ready. Okay. Dominic started to leave, then stopped. Sarah? Yeah, I love you. No matter what happens tonight. I love you. I love you too. Then he was gone, and Sarah was left alone with Marco, waiting for the war that was coming. They came at midnight. Sarah was in the bunker, Marco in her arms. The hidden door sealed above them. She could hear it, muffled, distant, but unmistakable. Gefear. Screaming. War. Marco was crying, terrified by the noise. Sarah tried to soothe him, tried to nurse him, but he wouldn't latch. Too scared. Shh, baby, shh. It's okay. Daddy's got this. We're safe down here. We're okay. But they weren't okay. The sounds above were getting louder, closer. Something had breached the house. Sarah grabbed the gun Dominic had given her, checked the magazine. Full safety off. If they found the bunker, if they got through that door, she'd fight. She'd kill every last one of them. More gunfire. Then silence. Terrible. Complete silence. Sarah's heart pounded. What did silence mean? Who won? Was Dominic alive? Dead? Were the Morettis gone? Or searching the house? She waited, gun ready. Marco whimpering against her chest. Minutes felt like hours. Then footsteps above. Heavy, purposeful. Someone was in the house. The bunker door. Someone trying the handle. Sarah aimed her gun at the door. Hand steady despite her terror. If it wasn't Dominic, she'd shoot. No hesitation. Sarah, it's me. Open the door. Dominic's voice. Sarah nearly sobbed with relief. She unlocked the door, threw it open. Dominic stood there, covered in blood, face grim but alive. It's over, he said quietly. The Morettis? Diad, all of them, including Moretti's son. All of them? All of them. Sarah stared at him. This man, her husband, who just slaughtered 12 people, who had blood literally dripping from his hands, who looked at her with such love and relief. Come upstairs, he said gently. It's safe now. Sarah followed him up, Marco in her arms. The house was a war zone, worse than Newark. Bodies, blood, destruction everywhere. Sarah stepped over corpses, trying not to look too closely, trying not to think about the fact that her husband had done this, had killed all these people, to protect her, to protect Marco. They reached the bedroom, Dominic's bedroom, their bedroom. He stripped off his bloody clothes, dropped them in a pile, headed to the bathroom, turned on the shower. I need to clean up. Can you? Yeah, I've got Marco. Dominic disappeared into the bathroom. Sarah sat on the bed, Marco finally settling. Finally calm enough to nurse, she put him to breast, rocked him, tried to process what had just happened. Dominic had killed 12 men tonight. 12, to protect them, and he'd do it again, without hesitation. That was who she'd married. A killer, a monster, but also a father, a husband, a protector. Could she live with that? Could she love someone capable of such violence? Dominic emerged from the bathroom, clean, skin pink from scrubbing. He sat beside her on the bed, watched Marco nurse. You okay? His voice was rough. I don't know. Fair enough. They sat in silence. Then Sarah spoke, voice barely a whisper. How many people have you killed? Dominic was quiet for a long moment. Personally or ordered? Both. Personally, tonight included. 43. Ordered? Too many to count. Hundreds probably. Sarah felt sick. And you're okay with that? No, but I'm at peace with it. It's who I am. What I do. The price of keeping my family safe. Our family now. Yeah, our family. Sarah looked at him. Really looked at him. This man who'd killed 43 people with his own hands. Who'd ordered the deaths of hundreds more. Who held her like she was precious. Who loved Marco with everything he had. Could she reconcile those two sides of him? Did she even want to? I love you, she said quietly. Even knowing what you are, what you've done. I still love you. Relief flooded Dominic's face. I love you too. More than I've ever loved anyone. More than I thought I was capable of. Promise me something. Anything. Promise me the killing stops here. No more wars. No more revenge. No more blood. We raise Marco in peace. As much peace as we can get in this life. Dominic cupped her face. I promise. The Moretti threat is gone. The other families are stable. We can have peace now. For a while at least. How long? I don't know. Years maybe. If we're lucky. I'll take it. Then he kissed her, and Sarah kissed him back. This killer, this monster, this man who'd do anything to protect his family. Her husband, for better or worse, till death did them part. 6 months later, the compound had become home. Real home, not just a safe house or temporary shelter. Home. Sarah woke to sunlight streaming through the windows, Marco babbling in his crib. Happy sounds, not crying. Just talking to himself. 8 months old now. Sitting up. Starting to crawl. Growing so fast it made her heart ache. She rolled over, reached for Dominic. Empty bed. Still warm. He was up already. probably in his office handling business. Sarah got up, pulled on a robe, went to Marco's crib. "Good morning, baby boy." Marco's face lit up when he saw her, big smile. Reaching for her, Sarah scooped him up, kissed his chubby cheeks. "Let's get you fed." She settled into the rocking chair, put Marco to breast. He latched immediately, still nursing strong at 8 months. Her pediatrician friends would probably judge, say she should be weaning him, but fuck them. Marco was healthy, happy, thriving, and Sarah wasn't ready to give up this bond yet. Might never be ready. After feeding and changing Marco, Sarah headed downstairs, found Dominic in the kitchen, making breakfast, pancakes, bacon, coffee, domestic as hell. Morning, he kissed her, then Marco. "How's my favorite boy?" Marco giggled, grabbed Dominic's nose. "Good, happy, hungry as always, like his father." Sarah smiled, set Marco in his high chair. 6 months of peace, 6 months of relative normalcy. The Moretti family was gone, scattered, destroyed. The other families had divided up their territory, everyone content. No wars, no attacks, no threats, just life, boring, beautiful, perfect life. "I have something to tell you," Sarah said quietly. Dominic looked up from the stove. "What?" "I'm pregnant." The spatula clattered to the floor. Dominic stared at her. "What?" "Pregnant. About 8 weeks. I took a test yesterday. Confirmed." We're..." He couldn't seem to form words. Sarah laughed. "Yeah, we're having a baby." Dominic crossed to her in 2 strides, pulled her into his arms. "A baby. Another baby." "Sarah, fuck, are you happy? Do you want this?" "I'm terrified. But yeah, I want this." "When?" "February. Early February, probably." Dominic's hands went to her stomach, still flat, no sign of the life growing inside. "February," he repeated, voice full of wonder. Then his expression changed. "We need to tell the families, need to increase security, need to..." "Dominic, stop." Sarah put her hand over his. "We don't need to do anything except be happy, okay? Just for today, just be happy." He kissed her, deep and claiming. "I'm happy, so fucking happy." Marco banged his hands on the high chair tray, demanding attention. They both laughed. "Jealous already," Sarah teased. "Can you blame him? He's had you to himself for 8 months. He'll adjust. Kids are resilient." "Yeah, they are." Donna visited 2 weeks later, her first visit to the compound since the wedding. Relations had been strained, but improving. Sarah had sent photos of Marco regularly, videos, kept the Calabrese family in the loop, and Donna had respected boundaries, called before visiting, scheduled properly, no more surprise invasions. She arrived with gifts, toys for Marco, flowers for Sarah. "He's gotten so big," Donna said, holding Marco. The baby studying her face with serious eyes. "He's growing fast. He looks like Isabella, around the eyes." Sarah tensed, waiting for the comparison, the subtle dig. But Donna just smiled, sad and genuine. She would have loved him, would have been so proud. I'm sure she would. Donna handed Marco back. "I hear congratulations are in order." Word traveled fast. "Thank you, we're excited." A sibling for Marco. Good. Children shouldn't be raised alone. They sat in the living room. TA cookies. Civilized. "I also came to apologize," Donna said quietly. Sarah blinked. "For what?" "For my daughters. For Maria especially. The thing she said to you. After the wedding. Before. It was cruel. Unnecessary. And I should have stopped it sooner." "It's fine. They were grieving. That's no excuse. You've been good to Marco. Good to Dominic. You've earned your place in this family. And I was wrong to make you feel otherwise." Sarah's throat tightened. "Thank you. That means a lot. I have something for you." Donna pulled out a small box. "Isabella would have wanted you to have this." Inside was a bracelet, delicate gold, small charms, a baby boutique, a heart, a cross. "It was Isabella's baby bracelet," Donna explained, "from when she was born. I gave it to her when she got pregnant with Marco, told her she'd pass it down to her children, to Marco's children." Tears streamed down Sarah's face. "I can't take this." "You can, you must. You're Marco's mother now. His children will be your grandchildren. This bracelet should stay in the family. With you." Sarah took the bracelet with shaking hands. "Thank you." Donna nodded, then stood. "I should go. But Sarah, know that you have my blessing, my support. You're part of this family now, truly." After Donna left, Sarah sat holding the bracelet, crying, but not from sadness, from relief, from acceptance, from the weight of finally being seen as Marco's real mother. Not just the replacement, not just the wet nurse, his mother. The pregnancy progressed smoothly. Sarah's body remembered what to do. Morning sickness, fatigue, growing belly. Marco noticed, started touching her stomach, babbling at it like he knew his sibling was in there. Dominic was intense, hovering, protective, paranoid. hiring more security, installing more cameras, checking and rechecking everything. "You're going overboard," Sarah said one evening, watching him review the latest security upgrades. "I lost Isabella during childbirth. I'm not losing you. I'm not Isabella, I know, but I'm still terrified." Sarah crossed to him, put her hand on his face. "I'm healthy, strong, and I'm not giving birth in some hospital you can't control. I'm doing it here, at the compound, with our people, on our terms. Sarah, no arguments. I want a home birth, midwife, doule, maybe a doctor on standby, but here, where I feel safe." Dominic looked like he wanted to protest, then nodded. "Okay, home birth. But we're flying in the best medical team money can buy, and we're setting up a full surgical suite just in case." Deal. 4 months pregnant. Sarah's belly was showing now, round and prominent. Marco was almost a year old, walking, talking, getting into everything, a handful, but a beautiful handful. They were in the nursery, Sarah feeding Marco before his nap. He was nursing less now, mostly solid foods, but still wanted the comfort occasionally. "Mama," he said, clear as day. Sarah's heart stopped. "What did you say?" "Mama." Marco patted her chest. "Mama Muke." Tears flooded Sarah's eyes, his first real word, and it was mama. Not Jadada, not dog, not bald. Mama. "Yeah, baby, mama's milk." "That's right." Dominic appeared in the doorway. "Did he just—" He said mama. Sarah's voice was thick with emotion. His first word. Dominic crossed the room, knelt beside them. "Say it again, buddy. Say mama." "Mama." Marco grinned, proud of himself. They both laughed through tears. This moment, this perfect moment, their son, their family, their life. Everything Sarah had lost with Emma, everything she'd thought she'd never have again. Real. Hers. "I love you," Dominic said, looking at Sarah with such intensity it took her breath away. "I love you too." "Mama," Marco said again, giggling, and Sarah knew, despite everything, despite the violence and danger and bloodshed, this was exactly where she was supposed to be. 6 months pregnant, huge, uncomfortable, waddling everywhere. Marco found it hilarious, kept trying to ride on her belly like a pony. Gentle, Marco, gentle with the baby. "Baby," Marco patted her stomach. "My baby." "That's right, your baby brother or sister." They didn't know the sex yet, didn't want to know, wanted it to be a surprise. Sarah was in the kitchen making dinner, or trying to. The baby was kicking up a storm, making it hard to concentrate. Teresa was there, visiting for the week, helping prepare for the new arrival. "That one's feisty," Teresa observed, watching Sarah's belly move, stronger than Marco was, more active. Maybe a girl, maybe. Sarah secretly hoped it was a girl, a daughter, to Honorema, to have that chance again. But she'd be happy either way, as long as the baby was healthy. Dominic walked in, fresh from a call. His expression was serious. "What's wrong?" Sarah knew that look. "Nothing's wrong, but something's come up." "What?" "The council wants to meet with us, all of us, including Marco." Sarah's stomach dropped. "Why?" "They want to officially recognize our family, recognize you as my wife, Marco as the heir. The new baby is part of the Santoro line." "That's good, right? It's necessary. It makes you and the children untouchable, gives you protection under family law. But Sarah, it also means publicly declaring your place in this world. No more pretending you're just a civilian who happened to marry in. You'll be a Don's wife, with all the power and danger that entails." Sarah sat down, hand on her belly. "When?" "Next week, in the city. Big ceremony. All 5 families present." "Can I say no?" "You can. But it would be seen as an insult, and it would leave you vulnerable. Without the council's recognition, you have no real protection. Anyone could come after you or the kids and claim they didn't know you were under my authority. So it's not really a choice." "Not really, no." Sarah was quiet, then nodded. "Okay, we go. We do the ceremony. We make it official." "You're sure?" "I stopped being sure about anything the day I fed Marco on that plane. But yeah, let's do this." The ceremony was held in Manhattan, some ornate hotel ballroom, packed with Mafia families from across the Northeast. Sarah wore black, conservative dress, her pregnant belly impossible to hide. Marco in a tiny suit, looking adorable and completely confused. Dominic beside her, hand on her lower back, grounding her. The 5 Dons sat at the head table, all the families watching. Don Vitale stood. "We are here to formally recognize the Santoro family. To acknowledge Dominic Santoro as Don, Sarah Mitchell Santoro as his wife and Donna, Marco Santoro as the heir, and the unborn child as part of the bloodline." He looked at Sarah. "Sarah Mitchell Santoro, do you accept this recognition? Do you accept the responsibilities and protections that come with being a Don's wife?" Sarah's mouth was dry. This was it. The moment she officially stopped being just Sarah. and became something else entirely. I do, she said, voice steady despite her terror. Do you swear to uphold the values of the families? To honor the old ways? To protect the Santoro line above all else? I do. Do you understand that this bond cannot be broken? That you are bound to this family, this life, until death? I understand. Don Vitale nodded. Then by the authority vested in me by the Council of 5 Families, I recognize Sarah Mitchell Santoro as Donna of the Santoro family, with all the rights, privileges, and protections that title entails. Applause erupted. Sarah felt like she couldn't breathe. Donna. She was a Donna now, not just a wife, not just a mother, a fucking Mafia donna. Dominic squeezed her hand. Breda, I can't believe I just did that. Too late to back out now. Yeah, I'm getting that. The ceremony continued. Marco formally recognized his heir. The unborn baby acknowledged. By the time it was over, Sarah felt like she'd run a marathon. They were escorted to a private room afterward. Just the immediate family. Donna Calabrese was there, along with her daughters, Ivy Maria, who looked chastened, almost apologetic. Congratulations, Donna said warmly. You're truly one of us now. Lucky me. Donna smiled. I know this isn't the life you chose, but Sarah, you've handled it with grace and strength. Isabella would have been proud. That almost broke Sarah. Thank you. Gabriella stepped forward. I owe you an apology for how I treated you, for the things I said. You've proven yourself. You deserve to be here. Thank you. Even Maria mumbled something that might have been an apology. Baby steps. After they left, Sarah sank onto a couch. Marco immediately climbed into her lap, tired, cranky. Mama home. Soon baby, Zoon. Dominic sat beside them. You okay? I'm officially a Mafia Donna, so no, not okay. But I'll survive. You're more than that. You're my wife, Marco's mother, the love of my life. Sweet talker. I mean it. Sarah leaned against him. Marco between them, their family, recognized, protected, official. For better or worse, they were in this now, completely 8 months pregnant. Sarah was huge, miserable, ready to be done. The baby was due in 2 weeks, but she had a feeling it would be sooner. Everything felt different, lower, more pressure. Dominic was hovering constantly. Stop staring at me like I'm a bomb about to go off. You are a bomb about to go off. Fair point. Sarah was in the nursery. The new nursery they'd set up for the baby. Painted in soft yellows and greens. Gender neutral. Everything ready. Waiting. She felt the first contraction around 8 p.m. Not painful. Just tight. Uncomfortable. Braxton Hicks probably. She'd had them for weeks. Then another. Stronger and another. Shit. Dominic, he appeared instantly. What's wrong? I think. I'm in labor. His face went pale. Now, but you have 2 more weeks. Babies don't care about schedules. Another contraction. Stronger. Sarah had to breathe through it. Okay. Okay, the midwife. I need to call the midwife. And the doctor. And Dominic. Breathe. We have time. But as it turned out, they didn't. Labor progressed fast. Too fast. By midnight, Sarah was in active labor. Contractions every 3 minutes. The midwife arrived. Kaim. Ephesia. You're doing great. About 7 centimeters dilated. Not much longer now. Sarah wanted to scream. This hurt. Fuck, it hurt. Worse than she remembered with Emma. Or maybe she'd just forgotten. Dominic was beside her, holding her hand, looking terrified. I can't do this, Sarah gasped between contractions. Yes, you can. You're the strongest person I know. I'm not strong. I'm scared. What if something goes wrong? What if nothing's going wrong? You're healthy. The baby's healthy. This is normal. Another contraction. Sarah screamed. Fuck being strong. Fuck being brave. This hurt like hell. I need to push. The midwife checked. Okay, you're ready. Next contraction. Push. Sarah pushed. Screamed. Pushed again. I can see the head. One more big push. Sarah bore down. Everything in her focused on getting this baby out. And 10. Relief. The baby was born, crying. Loud and healthy. It's a girl, the midwife said, smiling. A beautiful baby girl. Sarah sobbed. A girl. A daughter. Dominic was crying too, staring at their daughter with wonder. She's perfect, he whispered. The midwife placed the baby on Sarah's chest. Tiny, bloody. Perfect. Sarah looked down at her daughter. This baby she'd carried, birthed, would protect with everything she had. Hi, baby girl, she whispered. I'm your mama. The baby opened her eyes, dark, like Dominic's, and Sarah fell in love all over again. They named her Emma, Emma Isabella Santoro, for Sarah's first daughter and Dominic's first wife. Honoring the past while building the future, Marco was fascinated by his baby sister. Wanted to hold her constantly, touch her, kiss her. Gentle Marco, she's very small. My Emma, Marco said proudly. That's right, Your sister. Sarah sat in the rocking chair, nursing Emma for the first time. The baby latched perfectly, like she'd been born knowing how. Dominic watched from the doorway. 2 kids, he said, wonder in his voice. We have 2 kids. Yeah, we do. How do you feel? Exhausted. Sorry. Happy. Terrified. All of it. Yeah, me too. He crossed to her, kissed her forehead. Thank you. For what? For Emma. For Marco. For this life. For choosing me despite everything. I didn't have much choice. You had every choice, and you chose this. Chose us. I'll never take that for granted. Sarah looked up at him. This man, this killer, this Don, her husband, her love, the father of her children. I'd choose you again, she said quietly. Every time. Yeah. He kissed her, soft and reverent, then looked down at Emma, nursing peacefully. She's going to be trouble. I can already tell. Like her mother. Exactly like her mother. Sarah smiled. This was her life now. 2 kids. A mafia husband. A world of danger and violence and blood. But also love. Family. Purpose. Everything she'd lost with her first Emma. Everything she'd thought she'd never have again. And despite everything, despite the fear and danger and uncertainty, Sarah had never been happier. 1 year later, Emma was 14 months old, walking, talking, getting into everything just like her brother. Marco was almost 2.5, full of energy, full of questions, full of mischief. Sarah stood in the kitchen, morning chaos in full swing, Marco demanding pancakes, Emma throwing Cheerios on the floor, coffee brewing, Dominic on a call in his office. Normal, beautiful, chaotic normal. Teresa had moved to the compound permanently. Couldn't stand being away from the children. She appeared now, taking Emma from Sarah's arms. Go, sit, have your coffee. I've got them. You sure? I've been doing this for 40 years. I can handle 2 babies. Sarah gratefully collapsed at the kitchen table, sipped her coffee. Watched Teresa manage both kids with practiced efficiency. This was her life. Mafia donna, mother of 2, wife to one of the most dangerous men in America, and somehow, against all odds, happy. The past year had been peaceful, quiet even, no wars, no attacks, no threats. The families were stable, territory divided fairly, everyone content. Dominic had stepped back from day-to-day operations, delegated more, spent more time with family. Still the Don, still in charge, but not consumed by it anymore. Marco ran over, pancake syrup on his face. Mama, Blake ours? After breakfast, buddy. Now. After, he pouted, but wandered off to find his toy cars anyway. Emma babbled from her high chair, demanding attention. Sarah went to her, wiped her face, kissed her chubby cheeks. You're a mess. Mess, Emma repeated, giggling. Dominic appeared. Call finished. He scooped Emma up, tossed her in the air. Emma shrieked with laughter. Dada! That's right, princess. Dada's here. Sarah watched them, heart full. This man, who'd killed dozens, ordered the deaths of hundreds, built an empire on blood and violence, was the most gentle father she'd ever seen. We need to talk, Dominic said, setting Emma down. Sarah's stomach dropped. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong, but there's an opportunity. Something I need to discuss with you. They moved to his office, Teresa taking over with the kids. Dominic closed the door. Serious. The council has made an offer. They want me to take a larger role. Become the head of the northeastern families. Essentially the Don of Dons. Sarah's mouth went dry. What does that mean? More power, more responsibility, more risk, but also more protection for our family, more resources, more control, more danger. Potentially, yes. Do you want it? Dominic was quiet, then shook his head. No, I want what we have now. Peace, family, time with you and the kids. The Don of Don's position would consume me. Take me away from home constantly. Put more targets on all of you. Relief flooded through Sarah. Then say no. It's not that simple. Refusing the council's offer could be seen as an insult, could destabilize things. So what do? We negotiate. I'll take an advisory role, help guide the council without being fully in charge. That way I'm still involved, still have influence, but not consumed by it. And they'll accept that? They don't have a choice. I'm the most powerful Don in the Northeast. They need me more than I need them. Sarah smiled. Arrogan much? Just stating facts. She crossed to him, wrapped her arms around his waist. Do what you need to do, but don't sacrifice our family for power. We've built something good here, something real. Don't throw it away. Dominic kissed her, deep and claiming. Never. You and the kids come first. Always. Promise. The council accepted Dominic's counteroffer. Advisory role, part-time, mostly remote. He could stay at the compound, stay with his family, and still maintain his influence. Win-win. Life continued, peaceful and routine. Marco started preschool. just a few hours a week. Socialization, learning. Sarah drove him herself, refused to let guards do it. Wanted some normalcy for her kids. Emma grew, talked more, walked better, stopped nursing around 18 months. That hurt, saying goodbye to that bond. But it was time. Sarah's body had finally gotten the memo, stopped producing. First time in over 2 years, it felt strange, like losing a part of herself, but also freeing. Donna visited regularly now, every few weeks. Relationship with the Calabrese family had become good, warm even. Marco and Emma knew their grandmother, their aunts, their extended family. Isabella's memory was honored, but not worshipped. Sarah had found her place, not as Isabella's replacement, but as herself, Marco's mother, Emma's mother, Dominic's wife, her own person. 2 years after Emma's birth, Sarah woke to Dominic already awake, watching her. Creepy, she mumbled. Can't help it. You're beautiful when you sleep. I drool when I sleep. Beautiful drool, she laughed. Rolled over to face him. What time is it? 6. Kids aren't up yet. Miracle. They lay in comfortable silence. Then Dominic spoke, quiet, serious. I want another baby. Sarah blinked. What? Another baby? I want a big family. 3 kids. Maybe 4. 4? Are you insane? Probably, but I miss so much with Marco. Those first weeks when he was starving, when I couldn't help him. I want more time, more kids, more of this. Sarah studied his face. He was serious. I'm 34. Not exactly young anymore. You're perfect. Flattery won't work. Worth a try. Sarah thought about it. Really thought about it. Another baby. Another pregnancy. Another birth. More chows. More sleepless nights. More everything. Butauso. More love. More laughter. More family. Ask me again in 6 months, she said finally. That's not a no. It's not a yes either. I'll take it. He kissed her, slow and deep. Things were escalating when they heard it. Mama, Dada. Emma took my car. Did not. Did too. Liar. Dominic groaned. They're up. Yep. We should intervene. Probably. Neither of them moved. Mama, Dada. Sarah sighed. Rolled out of bed. I've got them. You make coffee. Deal. She headed to the kids' rooms. Found Marco and Emma in a standoff, both holding the same toy car. Mine, Emma shrieked. I had it first, Marco yelled back. Okay. Break it up. Sarah separated them. We share in this family, remember? But Mama, no buts. Marco, you have 100 cars. Let Emma have this one. Fine. He handed it over, sulking. Emma immediately dropped it, distracted by something else. Typical. Sarah got them dressed, fed, ready for the day. By the time she made it downstairs, Dominic had breakfast ready. Eggs, toast, fruit, toffee. They sat together. Family breakfast. Marco chattering about preschool. Emma babbling. Dominic listening patiently. Perfect. Chaotic. Beautiful. This was her life. And Sarah wouldn't change a thing. 3 years after Emma's birth, Sarah stood in the bathroom, staring at a pregnancy test. Positive. Again. She hadn't planned this. Hadn't been trying. But apparently her body had other ideas. Baby number 3. Due in about 8 months. Fuck. She found Dominic in his office. Wordlessly handed him the test. He stared at it. Then at her. You're pregnant. Yeah, we're having another baby. Yeah. A slow smile spread across his face. Sarah, I'm so happy. You're insane. Probably, but I'm happy. He pulled her into his arms. 3 kids. We're really doing this. Apparently. Are you happy? Sarah thought about it. Was she happy? Or just resigned? Then she thought about Marco, about Emma, about how much joy they'd brought her, about how much she loved being a mother. Yeah, she admitted. I'm happy. Good. Because I want 5. Don't push your luck. The pregnancy was rougher this time. Sarah was older, tired, chasing 2 small kids while growing a 3rd, but healthy. The baby was healthy. They found out at 20 weeks. A boy. Marco was thrilled. Emma less so. Another boy? But I want a sister. You'll love your brother. I promise. They named him Antonio, after Dominic's father, Tony for short. He was born in late winter. Quick labor, easier than Emma's. 7 pounds. Healthy. Perfect. Marco and Emma met him the same day. Marco was gentle. Odd. He's so small. Emma was skeptical. He's wrinkly. You were wrinkly too. Was not. Sarah laughed. Exhausted but happy. 3 kids. 3 beautiful babies. Her family. Complete. Or so she thought. 4 years after Tony's birth. The compound was chaos. Marco was 7. In 2nd grade. Playing soccer. Learning piano. Emma was 6. Kindergarten. Already showing signs of her father's stubbornness. Tony was 4. Into everything. Fearless. A handful. And Sarah was pregnant again. Because apparently she and Dominic didn't believe in birth control. Baby number 4. Due in 6 months. This time they didn't find out the sex. Wanted it to be a surprise. Sarah was 40. Fucking 40 years old and pregnant. Her doctor called it a geriatric pregnancy. Sarah called it insanity. But here they were. The kids were excited, arguing over names, making plans. Dominic was over the moon. 4 kids. We have 4 kids. We have 3 kids and a parasite. That's our daughter you're talking about. How do you know it's a girl? I just know. He was right. Another girl, born in early spring. They named her Isabella, for Dominic's first wife, for the woman who'd given him Marco. It felt right, honoring her that way. Donna cried when she heard, grateful and touched. Isabella. Bella for short, tiny, dark hair like her father, eyes like Sarah, perfect. 5 years after Bella's birth, Sarah was 45, officially done having babies. 4 kids, Marco 12, Emma 11, Tony 9, Bella 5, a full house. Constant chaos, never a quiet moment. Exactly what she'd never known she wanted. Marco was in middle school now, tall, lanky, starting to look like Dominic, smart, athletic, and the perfect heir. Though Dominic insisted he'd never force Marco into the family business. He can choose, when he's old enough, but I won't push. Emma was fierce, independent, already showing leadership qualities. She's going to be trouble, Dominic said fondly. She already is. Tony was wild, energetic, always getting into mischief, but sweet, loving, a mama's boy through and through. And Bella was sunshine, happy, laughing, bringing joy wherever she went. Sarah's baby, her last. They were sitting on the porch, late summer evening, kids playing in the yard, supervised by guards who'd become family over the years. Dominic's hand in hers. Can you believe it's been almost 13 years, he said quietly. Since the plane? Yeah, since you saved Marco's life, since you saved mine. I didn't save your life. You did. I was drowning, lost, broken. You gave me a reason to live again, to hope, to love. Sarah leaned against him. You gave me the same thing. After Emma, after I lost her, I thought I'd never be happy again, never be whole. And now? Now I have 4 kids, a husband who'd burn the world for me, a family I'd die to protect. I'm more than whole. I'm complete. Dominic kissed her temple. I love you. I love you too. They sat in comfortable silence, watching their children play. Marco teaching Emma soccer moves, Tony trying to keep up, Bella cheering them on. This was their life, built from grief and violence, from impossible circumstances and dangerous choices. But real. Datha. Bella ran over, face flushed, happy. Watch me do a cartwheel. We're watching baby. She attempted a cartwheel, failed spectacularly, landed on her butt, laughed, got up, tried again. That was their Bella. Never giving up, always trying. Sarah smiled, heart full. She'd walked onto that plane 13 years ago, broken, grieving, lost, a nurse running from her pain. And she'd walked off married to a Mafia boss, mother to his son. Bound to a world she didn't understand. It should have destroyed her. Instead, it had saved her, given her purpose, family, love, everything she'd lost, and more. No regrets? Dominic asked quietly. Sarah looked at him. This dangerous, beautiful, complicated man, who'd given her everything, not a single one. Even knowing what I am, what this life is, especially knowing that, you showed me that love isn't about perfection. It's about choosing each other, every day. Despite everything, I choose you, every time. I choose you too. He kissed her, soft and reverent, like he still couldn't believe she was real, that she'd stayed, that she loved him. Mama, Dada, stop kissing, Emma yelled. Gross, they laughed, pulled apart. Your daughter is judging us, our daughter, and she'll understand someday, when she's 40. At least, the sun was setting, painting the sky in oranges and pinks. The kids were getting tired, starting to wind down. Soon it would be bath time, dinner, bedtime routine. The beautiful mundane chaos of family life. Sarah stood, stretched. Come on kids, inside, bath time, groans all around. Do we have to? Yes, you're filthy. But mama, no buts. Move it. They trudged inside, still complaining. Dominic followed, hand on Sarah's lower back, his constant gesture. Grounding, possessive, protective. She'd stopped noticing it years ago. It was just part of him now, part of them. They got the kids bathed, fed, into pajamas, story time, kisses, tucked into bed. The house finally quiet. Sarah and Dominic collapsed onto their bed, exhausted, but content. 4 kids is a lot, Sarah said. We're not having more. Agreed. I mean it. I'm done. Finished. No more babies. I said agreed. Pause. Unless Dominic, I'm kidding. Mostly. Sarah laughed. Swatted him. He caught her hand, pulled her close, kissed her like they were still newlyweds, like they hadn't been married for over a decade. like she was still the stranger who'd offered to feed his son on a plane and saved his life in the process. "Thank you," he whispered against her lips. "For what?" "For everything, for staying, for loving me, for giving me this family, this life, everything. Thank you for letting me. I didn't let you. You fought for it, earned it, chose it. We both did." "Yeah, we did." They lay together, wrapped in each other, house quiet around them, family safe, protected, loved. This was their happy ending, not perfect, not fairy tale, but real, and that made it better than any fantasy. Sarah had lost everything once, her first daughter, her innocence, her belief that the world was safe, and she'd found something better, a family built from ashes, love forged in fire, strength born from grief. She was Sarah Mitchell Santoro, Donna of the Santoro family, mother of 4, wife to a man who'd kill for her without hesitation, and she'd never been happier. Epilogue 20 years later. Sarah stood in the compound kitchen, now 65, gray threading through her blonde hair, lines around her eyes, but strong, healthy, vibrant. Dominic was 58, still dangerous, still powerful, but softer around the edges, more gray, more laugh lines. The kids had grown. Marco was 32, married, 2 kids of his own. He'd chosen the family business, taken over as Don when Dominic finally retired 5 years ago. But Kinda. Get that. Building something better than what came before. Emma was 31, unmarried, running her own tech company, fierce, independent, everything Sarah had raised her to be. Tony was 29, a doctor, trauma surgeon, using his experience with violence to save lives instead of taking them. And Belia, 25, a lawyer, defending people who couldn't afford it, fighting for justice in her own way, all of them safe, healthy, happy, living their own lives, making their own choices, but still family, still connected. They gathered at the compound once a month. Sunday dinners. 3 generations. Fluid, chaotic, perfect. Sarah looked around the table. Her children, their partners, her grandchildren, Dominic beside her, hand finding hers automatically, still grounding, still protective, after all these years. "What are you thinking about?" he asked quietly. "How far we've come, how much has changed. Any regrets?" "Still not a single one." "Good, because I'd do it all again. Every moment, every choice, every consequence, even the scary parts, especially the scary parts. They led to this." Sarah squeezed his hand, looked at their family, their legacy, 4 children, 7 grandchildren, a life built on impossible choices and dangerous love. And it had all started on a plane, with a crying baby, a desperate father, and a broken woman willing to help. "I love you," she said. "I love you too." And they did, would, forward. THEN